I don't know what the fuck. I won't stop.
Welcome to episode 107 of Cowboy Shit with Ted and Wasey. I'm Ted. He is Wasey. Make sure to follow us on the social medias. I'm at Ted Stoven, wherever you can find me. He's at Wasey Anderson, wherever you can find him.
Most places.
Yeah, check us out on
on the social medias.
Check Wasey out on TikTok too. It's quite entertaining.
The Cowboy Shit Official, man. We got even on our regular Instagram, Cowboy Shit Official, and TikTok is our Instagram, and then our Twitter is at Cowboy Shit. You can just find us by searching our username.
Yeah, you'll find us.
Yeah, we're everywhere.
You'll find us. Look us up.
Social media, we're on it.
Check it out. The only thing we don't do is Snapchat because fuck that. We already have enough of them.
We're adults, so
yeah. Here we are, man. End of the year. We're into this is season 5 now of the show, but we start in December, so it kind of follows the company year, and it's kind of funny. So it follows like
more of an accounting schedule.
Yeah, it's not really. It's different. Okay, it's different. So end of season 5, though. Again, Amber Marshall, Jeremy Bueller. So this is already the 3rd show of season number 5 with. How about it, JB Mauney? We've been talking to him for a long time, trying to get him on the show, and it just hadn't happened. I wish we would have done a long time ago, but it just didn't happen. But I think
timing wise, it worked out, man. It's just one of those things, A lot of the people that we've interviewed, it just sometimes doesn't work when we initially want to have it, but when it comes to fruition, it works out and ends up being a good timing and ends up being a good show. So,
when are you gonna do a show about your fire alarm?
Man, I've been having a day. We're having a couple of days here, so I don't know. So what happened was, here's what happened to me with
some shit went down.
Starting with the fire alarm. So while we were away in Texas, I got a text saying that they're doing their fire alarm check, and then so I was like, okay, well, I'm in America, and my mom and dad took my extra set of keys, so I wasn't able to leave them with anybody while I was away. Like, I have some friends who live in the same building as me, so that kind of I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to handle this when I get back, and I still haven't heard back from my building managers on that regard. So fire alarm's beeping at me. I thought it was a low battery, but it looks like it's probably not a low battery because it's connected to the electrical system. So I don't know, man. I'm just a guy. I'm not an electrician or a fireman.
Do you got carbon monoxide in there? Is that what it is?
No
fires.
No, it shouldn't be carbon monoxide. I think it'd be a bit more aggressive if it was carbon monoxide.
But why else would it be making noise?
Maybe there's just a test that needs to be done or it needs to be reset, and I don't know how to do that.
Ew.
So I'm going to talk to my concierge once we're wrapped up here if someone's around, or else handle it tomorrow. Or maybe even ask my brother or something. I don't know.
That'll be fun to listen to all night when you're trying to sleep.
Honestly, man, I don't know what to do. So I just walked in the door, and it was
got to call the guy.
And I was trying to get set up for this, and it's just I'm a little flustered.
And your car wouldn't start because it's sat for 3 days.
Car wouldn't start.
Plugged in.
Was not plugged in at all, dude.
Yeah.
Cool. There's between my parents' vehicles, my brother's vehicle, all of the electric outlets were taken up. So the old RAV got the short end of the stick there.
The golden boy comes first, man. Everybody knows that.
Man, yeah, nothing happens around the Anderson household without the golden boy's approval first. So
yeah, that's
just the way we roll, but that's fine. So then yesterday upgraded my phone, which is cool, but apparently I thought that my phone automatically backed up my information to the cloud as it should. It's 2021, but I assumed when I shouldn't have assumed. And by the time I got home with my new phone to get it all ready to roll, I had lost probably 40% of my contacts I've accumulated over the past few years. So that's really been a shit show. So if anybody's listening and you have my number, it's still the same. So just text me and tell me who you are so I know who it is. I'm going to get a lot of texts probably over the next few months from people that I'm not going to have any. And I don't mean to be rude. When I say I don't have your number saved. So
it's the same. It's the same new number that you got last.
Yeah. So for people who have my number, it's the same. Like people
but it changed too. So a lot of folks didn't know the change.
Yeah, but the people who I wanted to know it changed. No. So that's one of those things where if you don't have my new number, sorry, not sorry. And then I lost a lot of my app information. So I got signed out of my Google. So I haven't had access to my Gmail. Otherwise, my work computer I have access, I guess. But I haven't had access to my Gmail for a couple of days. I got a new computer, which is cool. But I've just been like basically starting from scratch, like getting everything put in. I'm trying to get Microsoft Office downloaded on my computer, and I can't get signed into my UFC account. And it's just all a bunch of shit show stuff, which is fun. It's fine, man. I did it to myself, so I can't complain. I'll
This
get it
is
figured out.
2021 first world problems of
That it honestly is the biggest first world problem I think I've ever had in my life. Like I feel so like I'm like there's people out there who have way bigger problems than I do, but I am just frustrated and upset, and it's literally is the definition of a first world problem. So,
yeah.
anyways, poor me. Someone break out the tiny violin and wine and cheese for me. So
There's a tiny
I'll be okay.
microphone here. You could have that.
Yeah, I'm gonna need it soon, eh? But anyways, we're back. We're somewhat back up and running. I got a new system to head into the new year with, and I'm gonna do some cool shit with it. So I'm looking forward to it.
Right on, man.
Yeah, man.
Right on. What kind of
Well,
cool shit are you gonna do?
well,
You gonna
I
edit
think we
some
should get
Word
that into the second
documents?
half of the show,
Is
talking
that
about
what
the
you
new
up
year
to?
and kind of. But I would like
Gonna,
we should
gonna
probably
write some
say thanks to
stories
we
in
should say
Microsoft
thanks to some
Word.
of our friends here. Hey,
Are you
before
gonna
we
make
get
some nice spreadsheets? What are you
well,
up
once I
to?
get off fucking Office downloaded, yeah,
Make some
yeah,
fucking PowerPoints like a boss.
like a mouse. You know what? I actually don't use PowerPoint to make PowerPoints.
Oh yeah, what do you
I
use?
use Canva.
Oh, fancy.
Canva is basically graphic design for dummies. Like for me, like
Yeah.
I have a very limited understanding of like Photoshop, Illustrator, like kind of the Adobe suite, but Canva kind of just takes it to the next level. So if you're not really a graphic designer, you can make some pretty cool shit on there, and you can like brand it up to what aligns with your brand stuff. So it's kind of a cheat code for graphic design
Neat.
if you're so I've made some pretty nice presentations for it actually using. But anyways, so
Congrats.
I mostly
Happy
use
for you.
thanks, man. It's all part of it's one of those layers of marketing stuff, you know.
Layers.
People
Onions.
expect you to be a graphic designer, a video editor, all these kind of things under one job title. So you kind of gotta get creative and figure out ways to as you know, Ted. So yeah. Anyways, we should say thanks to some of our sponsors.
And by we, I mean you.
I mean me. So hey fellas, this episode of Cowboy Shit is brought to you by our favorite producers of ball trimmer, Manscaped. They are the global leaders in below the waist grooming and leaving 2021 with a new product. Clean yourself into the new year with their ultra premium body wash, and also we have a special offer with that. So I can't forget about they also have shampoo. They sent us the shampoo and the body wash, and it is awesome, man. I use it quite often actually. It's great. It comes in those like big bottles with the little
metal
on it.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's metal, dude. I dropped one in the shower and it sounded like a gun went off in my shower.
You probably chipped the paint.
Probably, yeah. It was rowdy.
I think that I think I might regift mine. Just
really? Have you used it? Have you tried it?
Yeah, I tried it. I might put it in the downstairs bathroom. We'll see.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Well, anyways, man, honestly, that's probably a good spot for it though. If you have guests over, then you have stuff in there because that's one of the biggest.
This shower is sponsored by Manscaped.
As I'm something that you probably know too is as much as we have traveled in our lives, like going to somebody's house and using their guest bathroom and there's no shampoo or anything. It's like dodgy. I guess I'm just gonna rinse myself off. I guess
there's not even this last week. There wasn't even a bar of soap in the fucking bathroom. How do you How do you do that?
So even if you don't want to use it for yourself, you can use your Manscaped body wash and shampoo. A shampoo and conditioner is 2-in-1, deadly.
Yeah, 2-in-1.
You can,
and it's not a hockey bag set of stuff. Like I could almost put it in the hockey bag, but it's
but if it freezes and explodes in your bag, that's not a good deal.
That'd be a bad time.
But anyways, you can get it for a gift, get it for your spare bedroom, get it for yourself, whatever you think. They got a bunch of cool stuff there at Manscaped, so you can use our special code, ball trimmers. They got nose trimmers. They got if anything you need for your men. Even like women, you want to use the stuff too. It's kind of unisex in a sense, even though it's called Manscaped. They have everything you need for your grooming needs. You can check them out at manscaped.com, and you can use our special offer code Huge Bush to save 20% and free shipping worldwide as a little treat from us to you. So check them out, manscaped.com, promo code Huge Bush. They're deadly. We've been using their product. It's almost been like 6 months now. Hey.
Yeah, I think that was I remember looking back at emails the other day. It was like July.
Yeah. So I mean, we've used them we've been working with them for a while now, and they got some cool stuff. So be sure to check them out. Also, we can't forget our friends at the Circle 4 Beverage Company, man. They are awesome. They've been with us too for a long time now. So check them out at ranchwater.ca. They got their ranch water, they got their sweet water, which is a vodka based product, and they're awesome, man. Summer may be over, but it is never a bad time for a ranch water.
Never.
Yeah. So check them out. They've kind of taken over Western Canada, the seltzer scene. You can pretty much find them at any liquor store across Western Canada these days. If it's not in the store and you want to give them a try, ask your liquor store, just find the SKU number. most places can look it up pretty easy. It's not hard to find. Again, check them out at at ranchwater.ca. You can find them there. Okay.
Good work, Wasey.
We got through it. We survived.
Good work.
We survived.
We've got a big interview coming up here, so we'll just get right to it, and we'll catch up with you after the interview a little bit. But again, this is Cowboy Shit with Ted and Wasey. Thanks for listening. Happy New Year, folks. Merry Christmas. All
Merry
that
Chrysler.
business.
Happy crisis.
All right. Well, this is episode 107 of Cowboy Shit with Ted and Wasey. I'm Ted. He's Wasey. Thanks for joining us. But we're gonna get right to it. Our guest this week, the last
guest this week.
Yeah, last guest of 2021. He's a two-time PBR world champion. Made his first appearance at the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo this past December, and he's the highest paid athlete ever in Western sports history, over $7 million in earnings. JB Mauney, thanks for taking the time. I know it's close to Christmas, but if you want to get a cowboy at home, it's probably during Christmas or on a Sunday evening. It's probably good timing.
Yes, sir. It's real good timing.
Well, thanks for making it work. I guess getting right into it, where are you at this week? What's happening? How is Christmas? How's things going?
Oh man, watching that little boy drive his flatbed pickup and half-top trailer around, about all I've been doing. Finally got to go tip some bulls and work some bulls I needed to work. Been needing to work them, but Christmas kind of fell, so I had to postpone it.
Well, thanks for making this work. And I guess I was doing some, like I mentioned, I was doing some research on the way home today, and our buddy Luke Kaufman, he was on, I think it's episode 83 of the show. He's back. He's I don't even know how to introduce you, Luke. You're kind of a man of many talents.
In Texas.
Yeah, did a bunch of stuff. So Luke, he just sent me a picture of him and JB circa 1989, and neither of them are about 2.5 feet tall. So you guys go way back. So this should be a good set of good setup for this show here, I'm thinking.
A good setup or a good way for us to get each other in trouble?
It's gonna go off the rails real fast.
Well, okay, so we were talking, Luke, and you mentioned that you guys go back far enough that you went to school together till the 3rd grade. Well, and that was in was that Mooresville, or where was that exactly?
That was East Mount Morn, North Carolina, USA.
Okay.
Where they raised taters, maters, and hell, and the only hell that our mom was ever raised was me and JB.
Exactly.
We went to we were like, it's probably 6-7 miles apart where we grew up, and his mom and dad, my mom and dad, they rodeoed together, so it kind of made sense, once we started getting a little older, going to school, stuff like that. So we went to the same elementary school. We were in kindergarten together, and it's probably about 6 weeks into kindergarten they realized it would be a good idea for us never to be in the same fucking class again, so they never put us in the same class after that. But yeah, we spent quite a lot of time together from then on.
And then they realized it was quite a good idea to move us apart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Once we took my father's lawnmower apart after school one day because he said it wasn't running. The only thing wrong with it was the battery was dead. But me and Luke took it completely apart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So his dad worked late night shifts, so he'd get home, he'd sleep mostly during the day, and he'd get up and he'd go to work in the evening, he'd get home in the morning. So by the time he woke up to go to work, before he left, he just happened to come out to the barn, and we have his a nice lawnmower. It's like a ride lawnmower. So like 92, 93 is pretty nice lawnmower. And we had this son of a bitch tore apart from the fucking seat all the way to the damn engine. Just obliterated. And yeah, come to find out, the only thing that was wrong with it was a dead battery. We thought we were helping.
Well, what happened when your dad found it? He was not very happy.
He didn't have near as much luck putting it back together as we had taking it apart.
We had a lot of parts.
Oh shit! Wow. Well, and Luke, you were saying you guys got in a bit of trouble when you were about like 8 years old. There's some shit go down, and it wasn't even like that far from home.
Yeah, the lawnmower I don't even remember how old we were for that, but I remember the first time I rode the bus, it wasn't because I lived like right across the street from the school. Like I could almost walk back home. That's how close I was. But the first time his mom and dad and my mom and dad decided to let us ride the bus together, we thought it'd be a good idea to take a detour through the woods. So what's usually is like a half, I don't know, his driveway is half a mile or something like that. Just walk down straight back to the house, straight shot. We get off the bus, go through the woods, go find the neighbor's cows, go whatever 8-year-old kids do, play around, goofing off. We pop back out through the woods like 2 hours later, and there's cops all over the house, like looking for us. They thought we'd been abducted. Like, yeah, we got our asses whipped that day.
Well, and then
you guys are poor parents.
well, and then what happened after like the third grade? Did you guys end up being in different classes, but still same school or kind of thing, or what happened from there?
No, Lucas moved to the mountains to be a mountain man.
Yeah, my parents, they moved when I was in third grade, so then we only got to see each other on the weekends at junior rodeos and wherever, where we had very little to zero supervision. At least when we were in school, we were in the confines of 4 walls, but then they just let us go to junior rodeos and shit together, and then it really went south.
What about the bus story? Do you know this one, JB? When you guys are real little and skipped out of school? What about that one?
Oh, hit on the school buses? We weren't going to miss our ride home. We just didn't learn anything in school that day.
Luke was telling me this story, though. You guys would go and like skip out of class in the middle of school and go and get on the buses and pretend you're going to rodeos and go play rodeo on the buses during class.
Oh yeah.
How did they never find us? How did they not know that 2 kids are missing out of school? Like that, like we would be gone for half an hour.
They're probably to have you guys out of the classroom.
I don't know.
Racing hell like everywhere.
So then you guys end up getting split up that way, but you see each other on the weekends. So who started, like, when did you guys first start riding? Like, when was the first calf or steer, or at the junior rodeos? Like, what were you guys doing at these things? Where were they? I guess I don't know the whole story here, where it all began.
Well, North Carolina is where they mostly were, but Lucas there, he rode, and his parents didn't want him riding, so mine went ahead and let me continue to ride, and now that's why Luke sits behind the microphone, and I'm still riding bulls at almost 35.
I mean, yeah, it started with sheep and calves, and I mean, even at an early age, like I was fucking terrible. Like I'd get hung up, I'd get run over. I was accident prone, whatever you want to call it. I wasn't good at any of it. Roping, steer wrestling, any of it, But JB was like, even at junior high, like, before high school rodeo, he did everything. He would goat tie, like when the kids goat tying, barrel racing, pole bending, like every event that you could enter, JB was entered in every one of them, and he would win at every one of them. So it was always fun to watch. Like, I mean, I'd go in there just to have fun, get to hang out with my friends and all that stuff. But he would always go, and he always excelled, even at an early age. So it was pretty cool to get to see it.
And at that point, like through your lens, did you know that JB was gonna take the world by storm like he did when he burst onto the scene, bull riding wise?
So funny story. There was a bull riding game that came out on the computer. It was like the first PBR bull
Donnie
riding.
I remember playing that.
Yeah,
Donnie Gay's fun.
Yeah. And an even funnier story, like there was a game right after that, and that was actually the game for Sierra Sports that I think Sean Gleason worked on before he even got a job with the PBR. And me and JB, we played this thing religiously. Like we played it, and we made up our own guys. I mean, we would play it. We'd go outside. He'd ride the drop barrel, or he'd ride the buck and barrel every day, and then we'd go inside and we played the bull ride game. And I remember, like clear as day, we probably had been 11, 12 years old probably, and something was said, or he said, "I'm gonna be a PBR world champ." Like said it just like I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna go to school tomorrow." And like I will never forget that as long as I live, right there in his den. And I believed him. I was like, well, yeah, shit, yeah, you are. Like, no big deal, you know? So like, it's so funny. Like the first year he won it, I was like, I wasn't there. I wasn't in Vegas that year. I just texted him. I was like, yeah, that's pretty easy to do, but it only took you 10 years to do it, but good job.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of always been his mentality.
What was your earliest recollection of rodeo or riding or being around it, JB?
Oh, riding sheep. I remember riding sheep and calves. Don't let Luke fool you. I got hung up a lot too, and I still do now. If you watch the NFR, it's just. I remember riding calves somewhat. Been hit in the head a lot of times since then, but I remember the first big bull I got on was at a place. Luke can tell you about it. It's called Love Valley, North Carolina, and first time I think I was barely 13, might be 13. Got on a big bull, got whooped down, hit in the head, hung up, got the shit stomped out of me, and I was kind of thinking to myself, do I really want to do this? Next day I was back at it again.
Huh. Dang. And that would have been your first big bull would have been 12, 13, 14, 15, somewhere in there. Or when did that start?
I was 13 when I started getting on big bulls.
Okay. So 13, and then was this I'm curious if this was like, well, was it at a rodeo or was that like a zebra bull riding? Because I kind of want to go back to the zebra stuff. Like that would have been, you guys were getting on every day, and that would have been at those deals in the beginning, wouldn't it have been?
Yeah, the first big bull was at a junior rodeo, and the saber bull ridings, boy, me and Kenner wore those things out. Little Brian Kenner. First year I made the Saber finals. I won rookie of the year. Made the Saber finals. I think I might have been 16, maybe.
I think he was 16.
I think so. And I never went to a Saber bull riding.
Really?
They had a couple weekly deals by my house that were co-sanctioned, and so I was going to those, and I went to the finals at that weekly deal, and I can't remember how much was added, but I was only got to stay on at the finals. Long round, short round, I was only got to ride a bull that night, and ended up winning it. And they handed me $4,800 cash. I thought I'd never see another broke day.
And you're 16. That's wild.
Yeah. And that's how I made the Saber finals. The first time I made it was by winning those finals. So it got me into, and that's why, like, I knew Jerome and Tiffany, but hadn't really been around them a whole lot. And I kind of run around when I was about 16, 17, I run around with a pretty rough crew. And they always told Brian and Faircloth not to hang out with me. I was a bad influence. And then once Tiffany got to know me, she realized it wasn't me, it's just some guys I was going with.
And so this is you're 16. Luke, would you have been like announcing these bull ridings too? Like you guys were running in the same circles at this point still too? Because are you guys the same age or within a year or two? Like you would have had to been.
Yeah, we're
within
about
a year, right?
We're about 3 months apart. Yeah. We were about the same age. That was about the time. That was when I started getting interested in music, and I actually started kind of pursuing that. And by my senior year, I mean, I was going to college basically to pay for my way to go and play music. And he was talking about Jerome. Jerome's everything in North Carolina. I mean, he started it, and he did for guys like JB and Brian, Josh Faircloth, anybody that had any type of a notable name in bull riding, he helped them, and then furthermore, he's putting on events. So obviously I wasn't riding bulls at that time, but I wanted to be a part of it. So that's when I got into the production side of it. So I would go to Jerome's bull ridings, and I would load bulls back there for $150 a weekend. And I'm like, shit, I'm making a living. I'm making money, man. This is awesome. And, still get to go to bull ridings. And then I'd start playing guitar and playing after parties and making money doing that. So I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. I don't even have to get dick slammed by bulls. This is great. So yeah.
What was your recollection of Luke Kaufman as a bull rider, JB?
It was interesting. I made him get on some stairs. Yeah, he could ride decent.
The last bull that I got on in his stuff on the 4th of July, and I can confirm, I can't confirm or deny that we were at Hooters for the previous 8 hours. So that was, yeah, any stupid thing that I've done in the last 15, 20, 30 years is probably because of this guy, mostly.
It may or may not have had this something to do with 3, 4, 5, 6 pitchers of beer, all the Jaeger they had.
Oh shit. Well, and like, I don't know, when I was 16, 17, those were some of the most fun times because you were underage and you could try and go get into bars and stuff when you're not old enough and shit, and you're traveling with some of the older guys and they're likely a bad influence on a guy, but like that was some of the most fun. So being able to make some money while you're in high school and going to those bull ridings, and then like, so you go to the SEBRA finals, and how did it go? Like, did you go win a bunch there too?
I did pretty good. I think I rode 2 out of 3 bulls, and in the short round, the third bull, the short round bull, I hung upside down, hung for like 45 seconds, got the shit stomped out of me. Just pretty much the way I do things.
Then you go next year though. I guess you're like what would you be? It goes freshman, sophomore, junior, senior in high school. So you're a junior in high school kind of thing, and then you end up going to those bull ridings again because you're still only 17. So was there any high school rodeos at the time still, or like what was the path before getting into the PBR stuff? Because PBR started as soon as you could go, essentially, too, right?
Yeah. High school rodeo, and I went to the Nationals my freshman and sophomore year. First 2 years I went. My freshman year I went the team roping, the bulldogging, and bull riding, and then my sophomore year I made it in the bareback riding, the calf roping, the team roping, the bulldogging, and bull riding. But I told them I wasn't going to nationals. Went to state finals and told them I was not going to nationals and I was done high school rodeoing. And they kind of asked why, and I said, well, it doesn't make too much sense to me. I can ride the same bull at open bull riding, and win $800,000, and I come to the high school rodeo and ride the same bull and get 10 points to go to the national. So a coach can look at. He wants me to go to his college. I said, I'm probably not going to college, so I'm just gonna skip out on that. I'm gonna make some money. And we started going to rodeos, like IPRA. They had a lot of co-sanctioned IPRA, SRA rodeos, SEBRA bull ridings, things like that. And back then, shoot, there was dang near a bull riding, open bull riding, every night of the week. And I'd have to go maybe no further than 3 hours from my house, and we could get on bulls every day of the week.
How much did that play into your development then too? Like you must have getting on that many bulls every day and like a bit higher quality than high school level bulls. Like you probably developed a lot in a short amount of time.
Oh yeah, my parents were real big when I was younger. They didn't want me getting on practice bulls, things like that, because they said you get hurt in a practice pen, and that's what they kept saying. Well, once I got my license and got a little older, I kind of was, I got on practice bulls every day. And once I got in the PBR and stuff like that, then I had bucking shoots. I set me a pen up, and I always kept, 10 to 12 bulls standing around there. And there was nothing for me. If I felt like I didn't ride the way I should have that weekend, I'd come home and I'd get on 10 bulls a day, every day. Like I'd just load them and get on and get on. And it cracks me up now. Young guys, they're like, oh, well, we've been working at it. We got on 2 bulls last week. I said, y'all don't have a clue what working at it.
How many practice bulls were you going through then? If you're getting on 10 a day, you probably had to cycle through a lot of them because them bulls would get tired of you. You're probably whooping on them every day.
Yeah, they would. But then I'd stay gone so much, I'd leave and I'd stay gone for a while. And you could tell when I'd get home, my dad and them, they would haul them bulls for me to some open bull riding things. And he'd tell me when I'd get home, them bulls were getting lazy. So we'd run them. Yeah, they'd get lazy, and I'd whoop on them a little bit, and then they'd start firing again.
It'd be like 2000, I don't know, it'd be 2009, 2010. I'd be at home, or I'd go do a SEBRA bull ride, and I'd go announce somewhere or whatever. I'd watch the short round on Sunday. If JB fell off a bull that he either rode before or he probably thought he should have rode, I'd say, all right, watch. My phone's going to ring about Monday. Monday morning, he'd text me about 11:30. What are you doing today? Nothing. What are you doing? We're bucking bulls at stands at 3. Be there. And he'd run he'd load a trailer full of them. And it wasn't, oh, I'll pick this one, this one, this one. No, just run them in there. We're going to get on all of them. And JB, you started probably buying bulls when we were 21, 22 years old, just stuff to get on. And JB didn't buy practice bulls, like not most people's practice bulls. JB bought shit that bucked, you know what I mean? And that's what he wanted to practice on. Because the stuff he's getting on the weekends, you're not doing yourself any favors by riding a 19 pointer in the practice pen. So he'd get on. It'd be me, him, Shane Proctor sometimes his dad, and that's pretty much it.
There was a lot of times, heck, even when I had my arena set up at the house, I'd call my cousin. He didn't have a clue about bulls, bucking bulls, anything. And if I didn't have anybody help me, I'd call him. I'd say, hey, come to the house. He'd come up there. What do you want me to do? I said, well, I'm going to flank him. You pull my rope. And I'd have the gate rope run through the latch. And I'm like, when I nod, you open it, your main job. What's that? Do not let that gate swing back and hit me. Well, what if you get in a bind? Keep your ass out of the way. I'll get myself out of it.
He told me, he told me that the first time. I'm like, what did you tell him to do? Like his cousin, he's like, I told him if I get knocked out or something, wait till Bull leaves the arena and then call the ambulance.
Holy shit. So what was the worst wreck you got into pulling those kind of stunts? There had to be something go fucking haywire there.
Well, my 21st birthday, I got in a pretty good one. Bart Miller was living with me. And so, imagine my 21st birthday, I was drinking quite a bit. And we're headed back to the house. He was my driver. And he said, what do you want to do now? I said, let's buck some bulls. And so I run 2 just good. But I had a black bull turn back right in the gate. He was good. And then I had a Breno that turned back in the gate to the left. And I rode those 2. And I was getting on in like tennis shoes, no vest, no nothing, just glove and a bull rope. And then I had a kind of a paint Breno with swoop back horns. And it wasn't too long before this, I'd hauled him somewhere and he hit a kid in the face and broke his jaw pretty bad. And then hooked the bullfighter out of his cleats. Like he was pretty mean. And I guess because of what I'd been doing that morning is the only reason I loaded him. I don't know really why I did. Art was a horrible bullfighter. And so I nodded, and he was around the end of the gate to the right, and he slipped and fell in his back end, what dropped me off in there. So I'm trying to reach out. I'm hollering at Bart to pick him up because all this son's trying to do is sling his head and hook me and hit me. Bart, he's 15 feet away hollering at him, and he finally takes off, I thought, after Bart. Well, he just took one jump. Well, when he took that jump, I bailed. When I hit on my hands and knees, and all he did was took one jump. He swapped ends, and hooked the piss out of me. Ripped my shirt. I was bleeding all over the place, and I got up. My dad had woke up. I guess he worked third shift. He had woke up and come outside, and that arena sat right there by the house. And he said, boy, you all right? I said, yeah, hand me one of them beers. I'm fine.
It's a fun 21st birthday.
Oh, yeah.
How much longer did you keep that bull around for?
Oh, I sold him to somebody. I'm always trading bulls. That's what I buy, flip them, trade them, sell them all the time. Still to this day.
Well, and now you've got some bulls going. You got a few who've been to some of the PBR events in the last little bit as well, and whatnot with Dale too, right? So you've got a few going, and you've got a set of fighting bulls as well, right?
Well, those bulls, the fighting bulls, they're actually my wife's uncle's Quattro lights out fighting bulls. Okay. It's just when I had shoulder surgery and couldn't really do anything, what do I decide to do? Well, let's just haul these fighting bulls for him. So I decided when I had shoulder surgery and couldn't use my right arm very good, I should haul fighting bulls and feed and sort and load those.
That's insane. After spending that week in Fort Worth with Luke at the UBF finals, whose bulls were that mean one the Thursday night, the last weekend? Whose bulls were those, Luke?
Those would have been Chads, either Chads or
Oh,
crosses.
man, those are the three of the meanest bulls I've ever seen in my entire life. Like I don't know why anybody would want to have those fucking things around. Like they are nasty. They are terrible, scary motherfuckers. And then
Yeah,
with this bum shoulder, nonetheless.
yeah. I don't know if it's the North Carolina water or what, but there's just something about mean bulls. It's just JB's always like mean bulls. He bought a fighting bull one time. He bought him at some bull sale. He was half fighting bull, half bucking bull. Remember the painted bull with the fudge brand? And like,
Half-blood.
yeah. And JB bucked him a couple times at some of those deals he take bulls to, and them guys didn't like getting on him. And that was when we had started up the UBF. So this would have been 2008. It's been 13 years ago. And me and Cody, the other guy in the UBF, we called him because I knew we had a fighting bull. And JB's like, yeah, nobody wants to get on that motherfucker. Like, here, you take him to some bullfights, see if he's any good. We took him, and he'd run some guys over. And he liked bucking as much as he liked hooking people. So, but yeah, it's always been it's fun. I mean, those JB will tell you. I mean, them bulls with the attitude, it's kind of like a challenge, being able to work around those bulls with the way that they work, because they're different than bucking bulls. They're different from commercial cattle. They're just, you have to work them a different way. It's fun. I mean, I enjoy it.
You ought to see the two gates I almost demolished a little while ago, sorting out to pin them back.
Lots
And
of
these
fun.
these are bucking bulls. They're not even fighting bulls.
Oh shit! But you got into the fighting bull side of things when you like after you wrecked your shoulder in Calgary that last time, wasn't it? Like that was the one you were healing up from.
Yep.
And that,
Well, since Calgary, I've had to have 2 shoulder surgeries.
but that was on a like a big red muley from the Northwest. Something from I'm forgetting who the heck
It was
now.
Mike Corey's.
Yeah, that's
Cowabunga.
right.
I got on a calf out of him this year, somewhere in the Northwest over there. I can't remember exactly where we were. Mike after it, and I could tell, like when I saw the boy, he said he's a 3-year-old. He's gonna be bad in the shoot, but he bucks, and he bucked identical to that Cowabunga. He ended up getting me bucked off, and I asked Mike afterwards. I said, "What's that bull go back to?" He said, "I didn't want to tell you before he got on him, but he's by a Cowabunga." I said, "I figured he looks just like him, built just like him, bucks just like him."
That wreck in Calgary though was kind of a pretty major setback for you though. Probably one of the times you sat out more than really ever before in your whole career,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah, it should have probably ended my career. As far as like my knees are blown out, both knees. There's not really much holding those together, things like that. My right hip's real bad. I have to go in about every 6 months and they have to inject it. But as far as like injuries, I could get by with all those breaking stuff, things like that. I could keep going, but that shoulder, I couldn't do anything. Tandy, I flew after the short round on Sunday. I flew that Monday to Dallas. He looked at the MRIs and he told me, he said, JB, he said, I've been doing shoulder surgeries for 20 some years. And he said, I've never seen one fucked up this bad. He said, this skin's the only thing holding your arm on. And he told Samantha that next morning he was doing surgery. He said, oh, it'll probably be 3 to 4 hour surgery. And 6.5 hours later, I come out like it was mangled. He said it was a lot worse once he opened me up than what he is expecting. I broke the humerus, and he said they weren't just fractured. They had to take 3 pieces of the bone completely out and screwed my bicep tendon back to where it was supposed to be. And I think there's 13 anchors in it holding everything where it's supposed to go.
Holy shit. And so that was shoulder blade, like ripped your shoulder all the hell too. Like that was the whole shittery, right? Because was it the front feet of that bull that really got you that bad that day? Like he flattened you right out. I remember you being under him for a while, but like it didn't seem as bad as it was when I saw it. I remember being on the back of the chutes and like he fucking mashed you up pretty bad, but it didn't seem like it was. I didn't realize it was that bad till afterwards.
And that's what old Ralph, the doctor up there, me and him were arguing there. Because it knocked me out for a little, just a split little bit. And I remembered everything right up until I hit the ground. And what happened was my rope I kind of got behind when the whistle blew, and I knew I was getting ready to hang to him. I thought I was going to hang up because I remember being behind. He was going to whip me out over that shoulder. And so I thought, well, I'm about to hang to him. Well, when they whipped me out over there, my rope slipped across his back and it kind of just put me right beside him. Well, I guess I put my right arm down to catch myself. Well, he cow kicked at me with his back foot and kicked me in the left armpit. Well, all my weight was on my right arm on the ground when he stepped on me. And that's what they told me. They said most shoulders don't come out, they'll come out the top or the front, things like that. But the way, I guess, position I was in when he stepped on me, my shoulder popped out the bottom. It went down through my armpit. And so they said that's why it tore everything, is the way it come out. And I guess when he stepped on me, it just kind of knocked me out for a second and he run over the top of me. Well, I can remember it plain as day. I was trying to get up and my hat was smashed into my face and I couldn't figure out. I thought at first my arm was broke because I couldn't figure out why I couldn't put it in front of me. And they got to me and they said, you got to quit moving. I said, take my damn hat off. And they pulled it off. And that's when I tried to move it. And I looked, and my shoulder was down in my armpit. I said, all right, I'll quit moving. When they rolled me over, I didn't know it at the time. They was all worried about my neck and all this crap. And I told them I was fine. Well, I didn't know they rolled me right over onto that backboard deal. And when they strapped me to it, I about lost my shit. I told him, I said, I've been riding bulls my entire life. And you know how many times they've ever carried me out of the arena? He said, no, why? I said, never. I've got up and walked on my 2 feet every single time. Any wreck I've ever been in. I said, the last time I checked my shoulders out, there's not a damn thing wrong with my legs. They wouldn't let me off of it. I chewed his ass all the way to that little room over there. I was madder than hell. We got in that back room and he said, we're going to have to pop your shoulder in. I said, you're not touching me until you unstrap this, take this damn neck brace off. We can't. I said, well, you're not touching me. He said, how you going to stop us? I said, I got one good arm. I was going to go to swing. And they finally checked some things. He said, all right, unstrap him. They unstrapped me. I said, do what you got to do. I wasn't too happy about it out on that stretcher, though. That kind of pissed me off.
Holy. It was, sorry, go ahead, Wace.
I was gonna say, you mentioned that you said that it should have ended your career. Like, what at that point, like, what kept you motivated to come back and keep competing at a high level?
Well, like, the reason it should have probably ended my career, it took my arm away from me, my free arm. And how I've learned how to ride bulls, how I've rode bulls my entire career was by making big moves with my free arm. I'd kind of get a little behind those bulls and then I'd make a big move to catch up. Well, when I tore the shoulder up, that took it away from me. And the fact I didn't really sit out the full amount of time for it to heal. Tandy told me 6 to 8 months, and I went to the finals 4 months later. It was in big riding bulls, but I'd made I don't know how many finals in a row, and I told them I wasn't missing the next one. So they had that thing strapped every direction you could think of. I couldn't even pick my own nose if I'd wanted to.
And so you go to that finals, and well, I think we got to mention first that you were 90.5 on Cowabunga. That was the last day of.
That was a ranked bull ride. I remember watching it.
Yeah, this was pool. Must have been, I don't know which pool it was, but you
pool
were making the short round. You would have made it right back to the finals, but don't get on another one until the world finals, and then stay on and ride that bull. You're 86 3/4 on Polar Vortex. It says here, Pro Bull Stats. So you stay on there, but then the rest of the week probably doesn't go how you want it to.
Yeah, I was kind of, I was needing bulls to go right, into that arm. And so I wouldn't have to use it as much. And the only one that went right was the first one I got on, and everything else.
How did you feel going into the next year, like going into this winter of 18, going to New York? How did it feel there?
I mean, it was getting better. It was getting stronger. I mean, I was having to work out quite a bit with it, to try to build those muscles back. And I mean, it's still, from the way it was before that wreck in Calgary, I'd say it's 75% now. Like, it's still weak. I can do certain things and I can tell it's not, near as strong as I used to be. Like, I can pick things up and try to hand it to somebody and it stops at a certain point. But, scar tissue, things like that set in, and that's just how it's going to be. And I didn't feel bad in 18. And then at 19, I think it was about middle of the summer, I told Tandy, I said, man, shoulder don't really hurt, but something don't feel right. And he messed with it for a little bit. And he said, man, I think you tore your rotator cuff again. I said, you got to be shitting me. And I thought you put enough damn anchors in that somebody to hold it. And I got home from that bull riding or whatever, and I went and got an MRI, and damn sure enough, I tore the rotator cuff back loose again. And he said, well, I think you can make it, through the year, and then we'll do surgery right after finals. Well, comes down to the time of finals, they called me and gave me the invite to the velocity finals. And man, I felt like I was riding as good as I ever have. I said, hell yeah, I'll go. More bullshit, yeah. Get there, ride 2, short round, I get wadded up. First thing that hits the ground, top of my right shoulder. And it swells up, gets kind of bad, but they were working on it. First round, I go, they worked on it that morning. Tandy injected it, and then I may or may not have drank 2 cc's of Banamine also, and because it was like it. And so I'm getting on my bull, and it's a classic round, supposed to be kind of bad in the box. They had it strapped down, and so I'm in the chute. Well, I heat my rope up and everything. They're pulling my rope, and this son fires off in there. Well, when he does, out of reaction, I reach over and grab the chute gate with my free arm. Well, when he kicks, my shoulder comes out. And I look up, and I told them I said, pick me up. And they said, why? I said, my shoulder's out. So they helped me out of the chute. And I walked by Tandy, and he said, is it out? I said, oh, yeah. We go back there, had to cut all that shit off, get it off. 2 of them sports medicine guys are holding me down. Tandy's cranking on it, trying to get it popped back in. It won't go back in. He finally looks at me. He said, I'm going to have to send you to the hospital. He said, it won't go back in. Well, when he quit messing with me, I guess I relaxed. But when I set up, hell, it popped back in. I felt it. I said, oh, we're good now. He looked at it. So the next morning, I let him work on it again, had all intentions of riding that night. And I was in the room, I was getting ready to get dressed. I just got out of the shower, and I bent over to pick up a pair of socks to put on. The damn thing fell out. And I got it go back in, but I called Tandy. I said, take me out. I said, I'm going to be one-armed, and I can't use it. I'm going to hit the ground. I won't be able to, get up. I said, that's going to put more people in danger than it's going to do me good. So then we found out we were supposed to do the surgery right after the finals. That ended up being after the first of the year. After the finals, he wanted to send me for MRIs again. They x-rayed it, MRIs. I broke my damn shoulder blade.
Oh, shit.
So he wouldn't do the surgery till the shoulder blade healed. So I had to wait, it was 8 months I sat out because, from the finals, all the way. And then he did the surgery. Hell, he did the surgery the day before my birthday in January. I woke up in the hospital on my birthday. And then it was 6 more months, healing time. Because I was like, well, this is the second time I've done it. Evidently, I come back, too early, didn't heal all correctly, and tore it up again. So that time I kind of took the advice and set out this whole 6 months to let it heal.
So that gets you back in August of 2020, and then you kind of finish off that year and go into the next spring is 21 already, and then head to head on the rodeo trail essentially, kind of like mid-spring, I guess, really, right? Kind of March. Well, I guess you went to Odessa in January, Denton here. You went to a few, and then go, kind of hit it hard from March till the end of the year to Vegas, I guess, right? That's kind of
I kind of, I would take the NFR. Like Luke told you, I rodeoed. I worked multiple events, and I'd go to bull ridings, but I like going to rodeos because there's multiple events. I like watching everything and shit like that. But once we got 18, hell, I asked Jerome. I said, "Where we go?" And he said, "You want to make a living riding bulls?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Go to the PBR." So that's why we went there. But I was getting to the point in my career I needed to change. 15 years of doing the same thing every weekend, you get kind of burnt out. And my original plans, because I had 10 world champion exemptions. My original plans earlier this year was to go rodeo during the summer, try to make the NFR, and then use my exemptions the second half and try to make the PBR finals too. Well, we got the rodeoing and going, and I had the RV, wife, and little boy Jaggers with me, and I was having so much damn fun that I said, I don't know if I'll go back or not. And then right towards the end of the summer, Bulls stepped on me at Fort Madison, Iowa, and ended up it lacerated my kidney. So there wasn't no way I could use those exemptions anyway. So I just went on to the NFR.
And then get there and go win the first round. What a way to show up and kick some ass there.
Yeah, that was first round went real good. Second round went to shit after that.
Well, and let's talk about that a little bit. You've rode with switched hands and still rode Gunpowder and Lead for, was it, I don't know if it was a 90 or not still.
It was like 92 and a quarter, wasn't it? It was ranked.
I can't remember. But I know that I rode that bull right-handed, like I come back right-handed. I broke my left hand. They put plates and screws in it. And I'd mentioned to somebody, hell, I'll just ride them right-handed. And word got back through the grapevine, and they said on the telecast, the one weekend I missed, they said, yeah, he might plan on coming back with his opposite hand. And I can't remember who it was. I'm pretty sure it was Ty. He said, there's no way he can come back and be competitive at this level with his offhand. That's like swapping, pitching arms right in the middle of a game or the World Series. And I heard it. I was watching on TV, and that Monday.
JB calls me the next morning. He says, what are you doing? Nothing. We're bucking bulls at 3. I said, who is? He said, I am. I said, your fucking arm's broke. He said, I got a right one. I was there, and so I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, man, like, this is stupid. Like, what am I even doing here? I'm gonna get run over because this dumb. I said, what are you gonna do if you hang up? He said, you're gonna get me out.
Like, that first cast I had on, holy shit.
You cut it off, didn't you?
Uh-huh.
You cut it off, didn't you?
Yeah, I made Tandy cut it off and recast it with a smaller cast.
Yeah.
That first one I had on, it was like a cinder block tied to my arm. It went all the way from my elbow, all the way down to my hand, and covered all of my fingers. They were worried about me hitting the ground with my fingers sticking out. And so I literally could not use my left hand whatsoever. All 4 fingers were in a cast. The only thing sticking out was my thumb. So it's like I was in the calf riding again. I'd get in the chute. They'd pull my rope. They'd have to take my wrap for it. The first one, he slammed me into the out gate and wadded me up. I was thinking, maybe this wasn't a good idea. And then I rode a couple, and I was like, oh, shit, I can do it.
And then show up that weekend and do all right.
Yeah. The first weekend I went, they bucked me off all 3, but I started all 3 of them. I was just getting a little behind. And then we went to Billings right after that. Hell, first round, I lost my rope. So I swapped ropes, and I think I rode 2 that weekend. Gunpowder and Lead in the 15-15 and another bull. And then I can't remember where we went after that. And I rode a big red bull called Bad Blake. I rode him right-handed. And the last one I got on was the last event for the summer break, and spotted bull HD and M's, and he looked left, went right, and this sung on, whooped me down on his head, hit me in the face, knocked my helmet off. That's back when I wore a helmet. Knocked my helmet off, flung me around on his head, and they said, what about that right-handed riding? You gonna go this summer? I said, no, right-handed ridings went into retirement.
So but you've ridden like with every kind of injury imaginable, and then go and get knocked out at the NFR, and then like, was your head clear after that for the last like 8 rounds, or was it still fucked up, or like what did it feel like?
Well, like, my head was fine. The problem was, a lot of people don't know it, is I didn't tear it that round, but I'm pretty sure I stretched her out pretty good. My right groin was ended up being tore.
Oh.
Because it started on that bull when he stepped on me and jerked me loose. He stepped on the inside of my right leg, where it just stretched me out. And like, my head was swelled up. They put stitches in my forehead, stitches on the right side of my eye, and then I had 4 or 5 staples above my left ear on this side of my head. And the head deal didn't bother me. You know, I've been hitting the head sewed up. That shit didn't bother me. And I told him, I said, man, my groin's kind of sore, but the third round, I'm pretty sure I tore it in the fourth round. Because when I hit the ground, like I felt something pop. And from then on, we were black from the nuts to the knee. And it was humongous. Like, I took more baths in those last 6 rounds than I have in the past 3 years of my life. Like, every night, Smed's like, what do you want to do? Go to the room. I'd walk in, I'd be stripping clothes, going to that tub, grab a bag of Epsom salt, dump it in there, and get the tub. Like, it took me, when I come back, it took me about 2 days before I could really get up and do anything. Like, it was swelled up pretty bad. Now, I'm not sure if I tore it completely in two or if I partially tore it. I probably need to go let Tandy look at it and see. If it's completely tore, I'll be okay, because once it's tore completely, you can't tear it twice.
But he might have to fix it though, I guess, if it is tore right off, I guess, eh?
Well, if it's tore completely in two, then I'll just leave it, and just build everything up around it. But the thing, like, if it's partially tore, then it's going to end up tearing completely apart. It's better if you go ahead and tear it completely as to partially tearing it, because then you got to ride with it hurting like hell until it does tear all the way.
Well, so now that you've had some time to reflect and you've competed 10 days NFR and all that kind of stuff, how would you compare the experience of riding in Vegas for the NFR versus the PBR World Finals? Is it kind of a similar deal? It's kind of like one after another with the NFR 10 in a row.
Well, I mean, 10 in a row doesn't bother me. I drew really good bulls. I wish I'd have waited till a later round to get wrecked out, I guess. I'm not blaming my riding on that growing. I should have rode way better. But man, Vegas is Vegas to me, but that was pretty cool. Like, I always wanted to go to the NFR. Even when I was little, I watched the NFR way before I ever started watching PBR. And I always wanted to make the NFR. That was a goal. And I kind of set that goal to the side and went on with the PBR. And when I finally got to the, I guess, point in my career and the age that I said, if I'm going to do it, I better do it now. There's not too many tomorrows in bull riding world. And it was fun. I had a blast. Like, I like watching other events, and it was cool. It was real fun.
So what was your feeling riding in for the grand entry on the first night, or even the step behind the chutes behind your bull on the first night? Were you a little bit nervous or pumped up, or?
Oh yeah, I was nervous. That's what I told him in the interview. I said, it's been about 15, 16 years since I've been nervous, and I'm nervous. It's just, and I've been on a shit ton of bulls in Thomas and Mack, just a different atmosphere, in those yellow bucking shoots. And because I was sitting there thinking, man, I've watched this since I can remember watching TV.
VHS tapes, man. We record the shit out of them.
Did you see Wade's wreck in the grand entry? Were you there, like, near him for that shit?
I did, but fortunately, getting wrecked out early, in your second round, you get out of grand entry.
I guess.
Did you get fined over that, or were you opted out?
No, they let me get out of grand entry, because, like, if you had seen me walking down the hallway, like, by the 9th and 10th round, like, I would wear jeans in, like, I had boots on the first 4 rounds or so. I was cowboyed out. By the 5th round, I had my hey dudes on. I'm rolling up in there. I'd go in the locker room. I'd put my damn shorts on to go to the sports medicine, because they'd work on it for like an hour. Like, I got to the arena every day at like 3:30 just so they could work on this growing, try to keep it loose. And like, I'd be walking down the hall in my damn shorts and slip-on shoes. Like, I did see Wade's wreck though. That sucked.
That's such a shitty deal to, like, especially after winning the round the night before, and then just to get mucked out in the grand entry and that's it for you. Like, oh man, that's so shitty.
Yeah, I kind of, like, a couple of people we were talking about, like, why don't they just do away with it? Doesn't really matter to me. I don't care either way, but it's tradition, things like that. But they said they started that, and that was the intro, but now you got pyro, you got all that. And they said, you really don't need that. And I kind of said, well, it kind of sucks for people, one, who don't ride horses really bad. Two, for people who don't have a horse out there, which I lucked up. Like Chase Survey, he was picking up, so he would let me ride a pickup horse. But, you know, you get random horses they bring for people to ride, and hell, you don't know what the son of a gun's going to do, you know, and it's kind of dangerous.
You're waiting for a world-class saddle mark rider getting mucked out in the Grand Entry.
No.
You don't know what the hell they're bringing for you.
No.
You mentioned at one point changing from helmet to a hat. I don't think that a helmet really. Well, I know it doesn't prevent concussion, because the concussion is your head going back, like your brain going back and forth in your skull, right? So the helmets is mostly for a face or or a skull laceration. I think guys keep taking better care of your head without a helmet sometimes. I think, right?
How much to prevent scars like that?
Yeah. Shit. Is that a recent one? Is that the Vegas one?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
They sewed it up damn near right between my eyes right there.
Oh fuck. But tell me that though, is that partially why you ditched the helmet? Like what's the story there? Like my point is that I don't think a helmet saves a concussion. A helmet is for face lacerations, and I think without the helmet, like I know when I went, I felt like I was invincible with the helmet, and it probably created more concussions or hitting my head. But like what's your take on that?
Well, like when I wore one, my parents made me wear one when I was younger, before I was 18, and I always told them I was going to throw it away the day I turned 18. Well, I was kind of used to wearing it and things like that, so I continued to wear it. And in 2011, it was one of the worst years I had. Like I was riding like shit, and one day I decided I was getting on practice bulls, and I didn't take it out of my bag, and I got on those bulls, and I felt like I never lost sight of them. Like I kept my chin tucked better, and I never lost sight of them. Like I felt like they couldn't get away from me, and I never put it back on. I took slinging out of my bag and never wore it again. And I agree with you though. When I had one on, you're invincible. If they're getting ready to hit you in the face, you're just going to take it. And when you don't have one on, you start doing shit a little. Try to do it more correct so you don't get hit in the face. I mean, it still happens, but
what was the first event you took the helmet off? Was that Bismarck, or
no,
maybe
I took it off Bismarck before I quit wearing it. But
that's yeah. But that was an eye opener. You saw the difference though.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that you took it off that one event.
Yeah, and then I think the first actual event that I went to and didn't wear it, I can't remember where it was at, but made the short round. Bull welded me in the short round. I bounced around on top of his head, and he hit me in the face, and ended up it broke my damn eye socket, my cheek. It looked like I had a golf ball stuck under the skin right under my eye. And somebody said, I bet you put that damn helmet back on, don't you? I said, hell no, my head's hard enough.
But I mean, other than that, I guess like as far as the head injuries go, it's face lacerations and like a few, like I guess you might save that way, but I guess the helmets kind of started though with Brent Thurman though too, didn't they? Because it essentially crushed him that way, right? Like that. Well, I guess that could be one benefit. I mean, but I'm just trying to think of like the concussion side of it a little bit.
Well, when I was younger, I was still getting wrecks. You're still going to get in wrecks riding bulls. Don't matter how long you've been doing it or how good you are, you're going to get in wrecks. But I explained it to people, when I was younger, it was good. I wore it because I'd wind up underneath them all the time, bulls stepping on my head, things like that. And like I crushed, I don't know how many of them helmets. And if I wouldn't have had one on, it would probably killed me, 3 or 4 times. But I got to the point in my career, like I needed to change something. It probably wasn't strictly the helmet, but when I took it off, I felt 100 times better. I never lost sight of them. So I went with what made me feel like I rode better, and I felt better on bulls without it. And so I never put it back on. But it seemed like you know, I was, when I took it off, I was at the point then that I kind of halfway knew how to get my ass out of jams when you get hung up, things like that. When I was younger, I didn't. Like, you can ask Lou. He had announced an open bull riding on Sunday nights, and God almighty, there was more pictures from when I was 15, 16 years old at that bull ride. And it didn't matter whether I won the son of a bitch or got bucked off, but there was more pictures of me dragging, hung up, getting stomped, shafts ripped off, and all kinds of shit.
JB, you've rode some of the rankest bulls like in the past 15 years, like basically your whole career. Has there ever been a bull? Like, we know you have the killer instinct, you get it done. Has there been one of those bulls where you've gone on them and you've rode them? You're like, holy shit! Like, I didn't think I was gonna get that one done.
There've been quite a few of them. You know, it's just, I don't know. It has to do with pride more than it does anything. You know, everybody said, well, if you go businessman approach, that you'd probably won $8-9 million riding bulls. And I said, well, you're probably right. I said, but I went about it the way I want to do things. And as long as I do it the way I want to, I don't have to hang my head to anybody. You know, it's, and pride had a lot to do with it. If there was a bull, they said that, oh, nobody can ride him. Then a little chip on my shoulder, I was like, all right, let's show them how to do this. And Bushwhacker's the main one. Hell, I got on that son of a bitch 13 times. Once. It cost me a shit ton of money.
Well, then, so after riding like the Bushwhackers and Asteroids and Pearl Harbors, do you feel that you were ever like cheated a little bit on the score, like not getting close to that record, or like, you know, you see Jose breaking the record, or like those guys riding the Promised Lands and all that back in the day?
Oh, well, you know, it could have went either way. I always told them it really doesn't bother me. I don't give a shit if I got the high score or not, as long as they got my name right on the check.
What going into some of those rides, what are the most memorable on your side? I was listening to Flint's show you did with him back in the spring, and it was Pearl Harbor and Sioux Falls was a big one. The Bushwhacker ride has to be a big one. I want to say Whiteout in 2013 on the last round of the World Finals. Remember SmackDown that year at the finals when you won it. Then you go to 2015 against I think it was it Bruiser, or what was it at the end of that year that ended up breaking your collarbone or shoulder that year too? I forget what it was now, but
Bruiser, I got on Bruiser 3 times, rode him all 3 times. The first time was at Vegas in 2014. Whistle blew, he whooped me down, hit me in the face, broke my jaw. 2015, whistle blew, he whooped me down, hit me in the chest, and broke my collarbone. And the third time was in Billings, and I finally got away from him. He didn't hit me that time.
Going to these big rides, though, what was the most memorable, or are there a couple? Like, I just want to talk through those rides and your recollection of them and kind of what went down.
Well, you know, anytime something come around they thought was a superstar, that's the one I wanted. You know, well, Bushwhacker was the longest one. I picked him a lot of times, but there was a few places, you know, there's like a Challenger in Louisiana somewhere. They had it was a long round, short round each night. High man each night got to get on Bushwhacker for a $5,000 bounty. Well, guess who was the high man each night? I had him. The first night, I barely got to the bottom of my nod, and he jerked me down and hit me in the face. And the next night, the last guy out could have bumped me down. He got bucked off, and they said, JB, I said, I know, load this son of a bitch. And I rode him like 7.5 seconds that night. I was a mad son of a bitch. I had him rode dead easy, and he bucked me off right at the whistle. I was pissed, but you know, and then hell, the best one when I got on him is at Decatur. Ben Jones went around. I was second. He got hurt, so I was first pick. And it wasn't like the draft. Like, they had all the bulls in a hat. You had to walk up on stage, pick your number out of a hat. Well, I pull it out, and I said, you got to be shitting me. 15 bulls in there, and I picked Bushwhacker. And I said it here. I walk off. Well, I'm the last guy out that night. They're jamming this place out. I nod, jump up there, gate swings open, breaker trips. The whole place goes dark.
No way.
Oh, no.
And somebody asked me, they said, well, what'd you think when the lights went out? I said, about shit my pants, because I told myself, I can't ride him in a lit up ass arena, and now I'm tied to him in the dark. And
Oh wow.
I didn't. He thumped me pretty hard on my head, and somebody said, why didn't you say you rode him if the lights were out? I said, because the lights came back on. I was laid in the middle of the arena about half knocked out, and then the whistle blew.
So going into like the Bushwhacker ride in Tulsa, or the Sioux Falls ride, like what is your recollection of those? What do you remember? What stands out?
It's same as every time I get in the buck and shoot. I tell myself the same thing every single time, no matter what. When you crawl off in there, right before I crawl off in the buck and shoot, I tell myself in my head, like, if you're gonna be a bear, you might as well be a grizzly. And this career doesn't last forever. It's lasted longer for me than it has most people, but it's going to come to an end one day, and that's all you're going to have is the memories. And so I wanted to make the best memories I could, and that was riding rank bulls for me.
What about well, I guess I got a couple other questions. So we got to that. What are you most proud of in your bull riding career? What sticks out that way?
For me, I always told them one thing, whether I won world titles or not, it wasn't the money, it wasn't anything. I wanted everybody to know that I never had any back down. There was no backup in me. I went at them every single time.
Well, and so going into listen to that thing with Flint the other day, and I remember I think I saw you do this one time, but he mentioned that you're a big picture guy. So what's your favorite picture that you've ever gifted, or one that you have around? What does that go back to?
Oh, that's probably my favorite picture that I bought from Andy is one of them on Bruiser. I can't remember which one it is, but it's on Bruiser. He's leaped way up in the air. It's a badass picture. But when I first started going to PBRs, we traveled like during the summer run, and we always took my truck and camper. Well, Pee Wee, Brian Herman, and Tater Porter, they traveled with us. They were on there like last year or two of riding, so they traveled with us. And Tater, he told me, he said, boy, you better buy those pictures, because we was looking at some of those pictures Andy had took on the computer, and I was like, nah. And he said, you better buy them if they're good. I said, why? He said, this shit don't last forever. And he said, you'll want them. He said, when you're done, you're going to think, man, I should have bought those pictures. So I kind of took that to heart. So I've made quite a few house payments at the Watson Ranch, I promise you. There's about 3 books, I mean, stacked as thick as you can get them, just full of pictures.
Dang.
That I bought, and if people like, I get my autograph sheets and stuff out, but like, if people that's, built me things and shit and say, hey, if you got a picture you can send, I'll get one of them good ones and sign it and send it to them instead of giving them the plain old autograph pad.
Where's yours, Luke?
What's that?
Your pictures.
On his fucking forehead.
I got one picture of him. I actually don't know where it's at, but I got him the year you rode Crosswired, where you're like 93 and a half, 93 and a quarter. Is that the first time you rode him? It's at the finals.
Yep.
And it was like that bull never bucked like that up to that point. And I don't know if he ever bucked like that after, but they leaped all the way out to the damn near the sharp cage. And that bull, he stretched out sideways at JB's. It's cool as shit. That's probably my favorite picture of him.
That's the best thing. I got a full brother to him on all my cows here.
That's good. You rode that bull several times, and I think you were always more than 90 on him.
Oh yeah, he was a good bull. I liked him.
Yeah. That was early on with when you were still like repping the Copenhagen stuff, like 08, 09, right?
Yep. That was Copenhagen days. That was back in the good days.
Well, I want to get to sponsors before we wrap this up. I got a couple things here, but what was throughout your career? I guess this is kind of 2 different pieces, but I'm curious who the best sponsors were throughout the years, or if you can say that. Like, I don't want to pick favorites too much, but like there's I was reading like Forbes magazine the other day, and Conor McGregor made 40 million fighting, but he made another 80 million between his whiskey brand and between endorsements. All these major athletes have it that way, but that breakdown's much different in rodeo and bull riding at this point. Like it's not
Yeah.
it's not unfortunately it's not as lucrative as it is in a lot of other sports so far.
Yeah, like I mean that's part of it. I mean, we still make a good living. There's I never in a million years when I was young, like I like Luke said, I said I'm gonna be a PBR world champion, but you don't really realize that you can make a living doing it, and it is a business to a certain aspect because it's how you make your living. But like I never looked at it. If you go to looking at something like a job, then it turns into a job and you don't want to do it. And my sponsors, shoot, I've been fortunate over the years. There's a couple of years I went without some and things like that, but I was pretty hard on them. I would always say, they would offer low ball you, and I'd tell them, look, if you can't pay me what I can win at one event, I don't need you. I'm not wearing your shit all year for that. And that's just kind of how I went. That was what I set in my head. Copenhagen, they were really good. But I signed an agreement with them, that I was exclusive. I only had, those were my only sponsors, except for, like the corporate sponsors that the PBR had. I wore those patches. But as far as having multiple sponsors, I didn't. Copenhagen was strictly the only one. And Monster's really good. Like Mitch, it's funny. Mitch, I've had autograph signings and be walking out of the hotel to go to autograph signings, and Mitch is like, "Where are you headed? Sign autographs for you, asshole." He's like, "Skip it." I'm like, "Okay," So like, they're really cool. And when I decided to rodeo this year, I called Mitch and I asked him. I said, I said, if I decide not to go back to the PBR and just go rodeo, would y'all still want to sponsor me? And he told me, he said, as long as I'm working at Monster, you're a Monster guy, JB. And I said, perfect.
So that you're calling your sponsor direct. There's no agent, never has been, ever has been. I don't know.
Yeah,
this.
have agents. XD Sports, Brad Benzinger, Sean Weesey, they handle all the fine tuning and the legal parts. But, like Mitch, I call him. I'm good, but I mean, we're good buddies. And most of them I talk to, I'm a little different than most, I guess, of their athletes, I guess. A lot of, they get the sponsors for them. Like when I signed with them, I already had Monster. And the deal, I signed with them was because they said, well, if we bring it to the table, we'll work it. But if you already have it, we won't take a percentage, but we'll still work it for you. And I was like, okay. And so like, I work my own deals out a lot of times. Sometimes I'll call them like, hey, we need to add a new patch to the list. They just give me pretty much free reign and let me do what I want to.
So Luke was telling me a story about, I guess I was looking at the career stats here, and you said you had a bad year in 2011. You still won 200,000, but in 2007 you won 575 grand, finished third in the world standings. 2006, your first year in the PBR, you made 66,000. So when you make $500,000, you got some taxes to pay the next year, though. And Luke said that was a bit of a bitch the next time or next year.
Yeah, that was real bad. Like I was living high life. We was doing some drinking and we was doing some partying. And then my accountant called me and told me how much I owed in taxes. And we were no longer doing a whole lot of drinking or partying because I was like, oh shit.
Well, we went to riding the shit out of more bulls, didn't we?
Right.
That's funny. That's all I remember about that conversation. He's like, I owe this much in taxes. He said, one thing's for sure, they ain't gonna be able to throw me off a damn thing.
So, and then the next year you go win 477, finish second in the world. That was 08 was the year Marchi won his first world title. 09, you're second again to Cody Lostro, but win the world finals, and you win 700,000 that year. That's a big one.
Yeah, that was a big one. I was a the only person to ever ride all the bulls at the PBR finals when it was 8 rounds, 7 rounds in a short round. I rode them all, and I won the finals, and I was still the maddest person in the whole place, because somebody said, "Man, that's a good job." I said, "Yeah, but it wasn't enough. I should have rode better throughout the year because I still ended up second."
How close was it? I don't remember that year.
1 round.
1 round, that's it, eh? And Lostro fell off in the short round at 7.5. Did you think you had it at that point when he got bucked off, or do you remember?
I didn't look at it all week. I'm real bad. Like I don't ever look at no averages. I don't look where anybody's sitting. I don't look where I'm sitting. I got a job to do every day, and that's what I'd show up and do. And when he got bucked off in the short round, and then I rode like I thought there was a chance. And when they called out he was the world champion, I shook his hand. I turned around, walked to the locker room. I was a mad son of a bitch. And then once it was over with, I called. I said, "How much difference was there?" 1 round.
Oh,
Damn.
that's a kick in the nuts.
Well, and then you go the next year, you're third. 2010 was who the hell won it in 2010? I forget now. One of the Brazilian guys won it in 2010.
Was Savano?
Renato, I'm pretty sure.
Renato, that's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Because Savano won 11, 12, then you got 13. 14 might have been
Savano.
14, yeah, that's right. Savano was 11, 12, 14. So I guess I want to go next to like 20. Well, I got 2 questions though. So you made 7.2 million. What would have been some of the best investments over your career, like to a guy that's maybe doing well now, moving forward? And the one thing that a lot of folks might not know is that the PBR, the $1 million bonus, isn't paid out in one lump sum. You get $100,000 a year for 10 years. So you got right now you got $200,000 a year guaranteed out of those. That's kind of probably a nice bit to start with for before you hit the road each year too. Right now, isn't it?
It is. You get it right at the end of the year, right? Round, yeah, I can't remember. It came in not too long ago. It's in November sometimes when they send it, and it's direct deposited straight into your account, and it kind of sets you up. And I believe it's pretty smart on their part to break it up 100,000 a year for 10 years. Some people say, "Well, that's bullshit. They ought to just give you $1 million," but somebody hands you $1 million, you get in a higher tax bracket. You're gonna have to spend 350 of it paying it in taxes. And 2, I asked them why they did that, and they said, "Well, if some 20-year-old kid won the world, we didn't want to. What would you have done if we'd have handed you?" Like probably the same thing I did when I won it. Y'all gave me 100,000, blow it. And so, I like the way it's set up. It continuing to pay me. I got a couple more years left of the 200,000. Then the first one runs out, and I'll have a couple more years left of the 100,000. But it kind of sets you up. You can, I don't know. The best thing I did was bought this land in Stephenville. I sold my place in North Carolina. We moved south to where my wife's family was in Cotulla down South Texas. And then I didn't mind it down there. It wasn't bad. I liked it. Her family was down there, but, rodeoing, you were so far away from everything. And so we decided we wanted to, she's got a lot of friends around here too. And so I bought this place, and usually I'm here. If you can't find me, I'm at home working, doing something, tearing up shit or messing with these bulls. But we got to build a house. We'll probably start that for too long. I've had welders here for I don't know how many months now. We've been building bullpens and been through about 3 truckloads of pipe, and I'm gonna have to get another truckload for too long.
But so the land, and then like, over the years, were there other things you put money into besides, like, there's been bulls over the years, and yeah, the Ultimate Bullfighters as well. You guys, you and Luke got that going. But I was curious though, like what, as far as saving some cash here and there, like there's that stuff's important to do over the years too for guys that are.
I weasel cash away. That's what I had my bull trading bills, and that's what Luke knows it. My cousins are horse traders, and I always, when I'd sell anything, well, here, I'll take 5,000 for it. You won't take any less? Well, I'll take 4,000 cash. because there's no paper trail when that cash comes to you. And that's how I am. I'm the same way selling bulls. Anything I got, a horse, anything. You want to buy something from me? If I tell you 10,000, you won't take any less. Well, 8,500 cash, and he's yours. And that's just how I do it. I've always been that way, and I do it. And I'm always squirreling cash back, but I put money in retirement deals and things like that. I looked at it the other day, and I got quite a bit in there. So, I try to invest some of it. And, the best thing around here right now, like Stephenville, it's gone crazy. Like the land here is high. If you come down here and you look at a 10-acre place and it's got a little house on it, you're looking at, 700,000-800,000. Easy.
Damn.
Like
That's a
everything.
shitload.
It's freaking high. And this place out here, it's 108 acres. And I could probably, with just a little bit of work I did and the cleaning up and stuff like that, I could probably easily double my money on this place right now if I want to turn around and sell it.
How long ago did you buy it?
The end of last year.
Okay.
Wow.
So we got to get into the UBF though now too. So you guys started this in 08, and then it kind of stopped going for a little while. Like, I guess not stopped going, but there was a bit of a break for it kind of thing, and then came back in 2020. So you want to start off, Luke or JB? You guys tell us about the UBF and what you guys got on the go right now.
Even when JB and I were kids, like JB, I mean, he's, like I told you, he worked every event, at junior rodeos. And what a lot of people don't know, even at the high school rodeos and the junior high rodeos, he would fight bulls. So he was a bullfighter. And he talked about all the times working practice pens and, hanging out. We didn't have a bullfighter that was on call. Like, you were helping this guy or you were helping that guy. Like, JB can fight bulls. I mean, JB rides bulls good enough to know that when somebody's in trouble, like, this is when you go, right? And I mean, there's always been kind of a attraction to freestyle bullfighting, especially on the East Coast, because there was never really a lot of it out there before we started the UBF 13 years ago. And then last year, with COVID and everything that happened, we decided to bring it back and, give these guys somewhere to go, because they didn't really have anything going on with COVID and everything else. And I mean, Chad Ellison, who's our other partner in the UBF, he was like, "What about JB?" And it's a no-brainer. I mean, he's my oldest friend. I've known him literally my entire life. And if I was going to do anything like this, like something with mean-ass bulls and something that could be fun for us, and thinking about, people ask me all the time, "How long is JB going to ride bulls?" And my answer is the same for everybody: as long as he fucking wants. Like, I don't have any comment. I don't have any I don't have any predictions. Like, he's going to do it as long as he wants. Like, he does what he wants. But when he decides he doesn't want to, this is something that he can be a part of, and it makes sense. Like, he's always going to have bucking bulls. He always trades and works bulls. And with everything that the UBF's got going on now, especially in Texas, really close to him, it's going to be fun. So that's kind of how that came about. I mean, it was kind of a no-brainer. I just want to have a reason to get to hang out with my buddy and get to do something fun,
Watch people get run over.
That's right.
That was one of the cool things. Like, with that, when we got the amount of time we got to spend out of that week in Fort Worth, like, it's pretty electric, and watching people get run over is pretty fun.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's what I love. Mean bulls. Like, I've got a few bulls here that are big pets that you can walk into the pen, hand feed them their hay and stuff. But most of them, like, I show up with a load of bulls. Everybody's done heard all these horror stories about how mean this shit is I got. And I mean, there's some in there that are pretty mean, but I keep them around. I like them with a little bit of heat to them. I got a couple that are gentle, but most of them, I like the heat.
Well, talk about some of the bloodlines quick before we move on here. I'm curious on what do you got that way, because you'd be a master at some of that shit on what there is to it and what you've got in the pen.
Well, like the set of calves I just weaned. See, Dale's partnered with me on all my rodeo cows, and I bought a bull from HD shit, I can't remember. This is the second set of calves that I've got out of him. And Brandon Stewart has the one bull calf that we kept, and they took him and entered him for maturity the other day. But he's a full brother to Crosswired. It goes back, Crossfire Hurricane, but Page is by far, in my opinion, have the best bloodlines going. Now the bull side, the big bulls, I bought them some sales, things like that. But Norris Dalton, he's raised bulls forever, and he lives about 2 hours north of me, North Wichita Falls, and he's paralyzed. He's in a wheelchair. He's been in a wheelchair ever since I've known him, and over the years, it's kind of programmed. He hadn't had anywhere to haul his bulls, things like that. So he's got bulls up there that are 4 or 5 year old bulls that's never had riders on them. And the guy that works for him, Nick, me and him pretty good buddies. So he called me. I went up there. We rode around. I wrote brands down, and that's where most of the big bulls that I have in these pens come from. The ones I was tipping today, there are 8 new bulls that just Norris about a week ago. So they're pretty much like Mavericks. Like, they hadn't been handled a whole lot. They've just been living in a pasture. He's got like 900 acres up there, and they just pretty much run wild. They feed them, but they branded them when they were calves and things like that, and then they've been out since. So it takes a lot of work and to get them calm enough to where you can actually even get a guy on them. There's going to be probably 3 or 4 in this set that I got standing out here. That's going to be real bad. Real bad. And but I like messing with them. I like piddling with them and taking them and working them and figuring them out and things like that. And there's some of these bulls that I picked up from him that you couldn't even hardly get in the pen with them to feed them when I first got them here. And now you walk in there, pour the feed in a bucket, and they're standing right in front of you, just right beside you, waiting on you to pour the feed. And it's crazy how much they gentle down when you work them and get them working. I mean, when you buck them, they're still mean as hell, but I just like pit bulls.
Well, and you mentioned kind of being around them, and I had this wrote down from a bit ago. You mentioned Lane Frost and Bull Talk, like his bull riding, like instructional video, I guess, kind of thing. I remember he mentioned for his style, it was a lot of it was just a little bit. He says just a little bit, probably about 700 times in that thing, because everything's a little minor adjustment. But that's, I think, like, I want to go back to kind of who you learned from and modeled yourself after, but it's more that style than Gary LeFew kind of style, right? Like, it's more so the dance with the bull and being in the right spot than
Here's my.
There's your copy.
Right there. I still watch it all the time. My son Jagger, he watches it, and like, now I've got to where I've watched it so many times. I just skip through to the riding parts, just watch his rides. And but my little boy, he'll be 3 at the end of January. He'll sit in the bed and, I mean, watch him the whole time, going through his gear, shoot procedure, on the horse, like he watches it, just eyes glued to it. And that's the same way. Like, I didn't have Lane Frost Bull Talk when I was younger, but you can ask Luke. Like, I had a box of VHS tapes, and you could point to any tape in that box, pull it out, stick it in, and I could tell you who it was riding, what bull it was, and what their score was, if they rode them or not. And like, I mean, the whole box, didn't matter which tape you grabbed, you could grab it, and I'd be looking away, put it in, hit play, and I could tell you every ride on it, everything about it. And that was a thing my parents, if you did your schoolwork half as much as you studied riding bulls, you'd be a straight A student. And
I was just about to say, JB's never been an A student on the academic level, but I mean, his memory is photographic. Like, he
think about
you what?
I think I passed high school. Photographic.
Photographic. I mean, ask him about a bull that he rode in 2006. I mean, like, there's been a lot in between, but like when he breaks down a bull riding, like and I've made fun of him. I've made fun of him about this since he was 8 years old. Like it's a 30-minute story because he that detailed. He breaks it down that much. But I mean, to be the best at something, like you got to know all them details, you know, and that's what
I tell young kids, like, you know, kids that, well, we've been working on it. We got on the drop barrel all week. And I'm like, y'all don't understand what working at it is. Like you have to eat, sleep, bull riding 24/7. You would rather watch bull riding tapes as to do anything else, ride a dirt bike or a 4-wheeler. Like that's all I wanted to do. Like I had dirt bike, things like that, but I mean, it stayed parked most of the time unless I was outside and rode my barrel and got tired of riding my barrel. Then I'd ride my dirt bike around. But, you know, it was always bull riding. Like there was nothing else. It was, you know, I roped, did things like that, but it was bull riding, strictly bull riding. And that's all I want to do. And I still do it to this day. Like I watch my rides back and break them down, figure out what I did wrong. And I'm too old and too crippled to get on 10 bulls a day like I used to. But, you know, I try to get on the drop barrel and fix it. But, you know, like young kids, I'm like, y'all wouldn't have lasted living with me for 2 weeks if y'all would have been my age, because I'd have killed y'all off by the second day. And that's the difference in generations, you know, that I don't understand it. I guess they want to work more. I'd rather ride bulls and make money than work. But
well, and sorry, go ahead.
He was one of those guys. I mean, like when DVR started to be a thing. I don't know when that was, but I just remember I'd go to his house. Like I'd pick him up from the airport, or we'd go back. Like when I started going to some of those events, play concerts or whatever. First thing we do, we go back. He DVR'd it, and he'd watch. He wouldn't just watch his ride. He'd watch a lot of people. Like there'd be a certain ride he wanted to go back and he'd watch it. He'd slow it down. He'd back it up. He'd play it. Then he'd back it up. He'd fucking slow it down. He'd play it. And then 10 more times and he'd watch, you know. And I never saw anybody break it down like that. And I mean, think about it. I mean, it'd be like you guys going back and listening to your podcast, like to make notes. It'd be like me going back and listening. Like I know I'm an announcer. It's not the same as riding bulls, but like I don't go back and listen to myself announce because, you know, it's stupid, right? But if you go back and do it, and same with music and any of that stuff, like go back and pick yourself apart and make yourself better. But I mean, and he did that. I remember VHS tapes, him riding steers, going straight down the pin. He gonna watch it 10 times. I'm not exaggerating. Like, look at him laughing. He knows, like he's but that's what he did. Like, because he, you know, oh yeah. I got over to the left and did that, and then there's a 10-minute story. He's gonna tell you why he went to the left. But I don't know, man. I mean, it's not just a generational thing. That's what it takes to be great, you know. And I mean, it's that attention to detail, and it's pretty cool. But it's important to be good at anything, I think.
What does the future look like for you, JB, as far as teaching guys? I'd be curious what it'd take to get you to coaching some people, or what does that look like? I remember listening to that deal with Flint as well, and you talked about having Andrew Alvarez and Dalen Swearingen down at your place. But one thing I really noticed was you weren't giving tips unless somebody asked you, which is I appreciate that, because I don't. Feedback isn't as appreciated if it's not asked for.
Yeah, that's what I'm real big on that. They're like, well, you know, like college is right here, Tarleton College is right here, and I ride over there and watch her practice and stuff every once in a while. And so I said, "Why don't you help them kids?" I said, "They don't ask." And I said, "I'll go watch them get on bulls. I know exactly what they're doing wrong when I watch them, and if they come up and ask, I'll tell them. But if they don't ask, I'm not. It's no skin off my shoulders. You know, if they come and ask me, I'll help you out 110%, but if you don't ask, I'm not saying shit. And that's what Andrew, I hadn't been around Andrew a whole lot. He'd been around me some. And when he come to the house, you know, they were there and we got on that drop barrel and rode in, and I took him to a place and they got on some practice bulls. And, you know, I watched him when they went to that team challenge, and he did an interview, and they said, and they asked him something. He said, it is crazy the amount of shit that guy knows about bull riding bulls, and there's a word. I said, that's because nobody asked me. You know, if you don't ask, I'm saying it. And, you know, you get to the level, the PBR level, you're riding bulls for a living. This is what you do for a living. So I'm not going to, you know, tell you what you need to be doing or what you did wrong. Like if you ask me, I'll tell you, but you know, that's just how I am about everything. If you don't ask, and my wife gets pissed at me sometimes because she'll come up here and help me with these bulls and stuff, and I won't tell her what I'm doing. And she's like, well, which way? And she's like, you don't communicate very good. I was like, well, you didn't ask. And
so is there even if can I ask for a I guess you can't call it bull talk, but when's the JB Mauney bull riding training video coming out?
Talking bull with JB.
we've been throwing it around. I've been talking to a buddy of mine about it, you know, and we were planning on doing it, but I don't know when we'll end up doing it. I gotta, you know, whenever he kind of decides we get everything lined up, I would rather do that as to put on bull riding schools, because I put on a few, and what I've noticed about a few of them is, or most of them, you know, say you got 15 kids there, 5 of them there because their parents are living through them. Then you've got 8 that are there just say they came to your school. And then you might have 1 or 2 that'll actually really want to learn and really want to ride bulls. And I don't have a very good filter. So when I look at a kid that's 14 years old and his parents are standing there, and I say, hey man, you're a pussy. You need to quit. Like, nah. You know, then the parents fucking hate me and say I'm, you know, but I don't have a good filter.
This isn't all hypothetical. This is all stuff that's actually happened in real life, sadly.
Yeah. You know, so I don't have a good filter. I say what I feel. I say what I think, and it's hard for me. And in other aspects too, like, yeah, if you're putting a bull riding school on, each student paid the same amount of money to be there. Well, this kid that just shows up, just say he went to your school, that's not ever going to make it riding bulls. You can tell right off the bat. Why do I want to try to help him when he's not ever really going to do it? Is the same as I'm going to help the kid that's really trying his guts out, that really wants to do it. Like I can't. I mean, I'll help them, but I don't like doing bull riding schools like at all whatsoever. And I get people messages all the time want me to do bull riding schools, and I won't do them.
So if you're not doing schools though, how do you think the young athletes need to mentally prepare for the sport? Just on a side note of things, if you're not doing schools, like would you do private stuff for people if it's the kid reaching out? Or
I've thought about doing that. You know, I've thought about doing that, taking like one person at a time and working with them, because you know, you get 15 people there together, and the way I always started schools off, you know, some people, they work on the barrel, they do this. I put them on bulls. As soon as we got to the school and they got their shit on, I put them on bulls. And everybody said, why you do that? I see what I got to work with. You know, I can't tell how good this kid rides until he gets on something in front of me. You know, I don't know what I'm working with until I see it. And then you can kind of, you know, separate them out where this kid needs to ride the drop barrel. This one needs to work on shoot procedure. You know, you can kind of, but I've thought about taking, like, if somebody really wanted to come and do it, but they won't like me, man. I'm telling you.
It needs to be a one-on-one deal. Like, you come live with JB for 2 weeks, and if you can handle the ass chewing, if you can handle getting tortured, you'll probably know quite a bit about bull riding. You might even be better at riding bulls than when you got there. And hell, we might give you 10,000 because nobody else wants to do it. They're scared of the guy.
It could be a reality show.
Yeah, there you go. I'd watch it. I'd watch it every week.
You can ask Luke. There's a guy in North Carolina, and Eli Miller. He called me up. Hey man, if I come help you around the house, will you help me riding bulls? I said, yeah, but you're not gonna like me. And he didn't know what I was talking about. And you want to talk about the ass chewings I gave that son of a gun, and like he would show up, and I'd be like, hey, you got your rigging bag with you? Yeah. All right, get your vest, your helmet, your bull rope, and your glove. Why not my whole bag? Leave your boots and spurs here. We're going to get on bulls. You're getting on your tennis shoes. Like, I wouldn't tell him we were doing it that day. Like, he showed up, and that's what we did. I went, and you talk about, there's another kid that did it one day too. And because there's an older man over there that's got some bulls that if you ride bulls, you shouldn't fall off of any of them. And he fell off, and he was trying to hide it. He didn't want to show me the video. And somebody finally sent it to me, and I asked him about it, and he's like, yeah. And I said, get your rope and stuff. And I said, leave your boots and spurs. He said, why? And I had a spotted bull. I used to get on him all the time, tennis shoes, no vest, shit like that. But he would hook your ass sometimes. And so I told him, I said, I was crippled. I broke my leg or something. I was still riding, but my leg was broke. So we load this son of a gun up. I pull his rope. He's getting ready. I stepped down there to trip the latch, and I said, hey, by the way, you better ride good and get off good. Why? I said, my leg broke and I ain't getting run over. So you're on your own when this gate flies open. And you talk about Young McGunn was scared shitless. Rode the piss out of him. Just perfect. Stepped off on his feet. And I said, when you don't have anyone to rely on or anything to rely on, you do shit right.
School hard knocks with JB.
Shit. So getting on in tennis shoes though, that I remember hearing about that. I never did it. I wasn't that good, but I mean, like I never did that shit. But how important is that? Like, I feel like tennis shoes would give a guy a little bit of, like, they'd be kind of sticky, like you could kind of stick to them. But bull riding is more like a lot of it's your knees. Like as long as your legs aren't straight down the sides of them, if you got some knees in them, that's what a guy needs a lot of, right?
Yeah, a lot of knee. You can tell, like the reason I do it, like if I feel like I'm riding tight and not moving, that's when I do it. I'll take them spurs off and I'll get on the tennis shoes. It makes me, your feet will slide more, and you constantly have to reset them. Just keep setting them back down there. They will get a little bit, but like they'll still, like it's not like having a spur on. And I've done that a lot to guys. The high school association in North Carolina asked me to do a little one-day school for them, the 4 that were going to the nationals that year. And like I told them they'd screwed up anyways. I said, the guy that was bringing bulls, he'd bring 19 pointers there. And I said, they're getting on weak bulls, and you're going to send them to the nationals expecting them to do something good. And they're going to get cow killed out there because they hadn't been on bulls that bucked like that ever. And so they wanted to do it at that guy's house with the 19-point bulls. So when I get there, these kids are strapped up, got their boots, spurs on, they're ready. I looked at all of them. I said, y'all got tennis shoes with you? Yeah. I said, go put them on. They said, why? I said, you want to learn how to ride bulls? Don't rely on those spurs. I said, but I will tell you, if you screw up, they're going to knock the shit out of you. Feet whip behind you real fast. If you're not sitting exactly where you need to be and resetting your feet, then they will whip you down. Like a 19-point bullet jumps, kicks can whoop you down pretty quick. That's why I always did it. It made me feel like I'd go back to moving and shuffling and not just trying to clamp and get one good hold.
So is that one of the keys as far as being in the right place and getting the feel for it and being able to get over the front end correctly? Like, is you can't stick your feet in the rope and think you're gonna stay on everything. They're gonna tear the shit out of you anyways. But I mean, like that's a big part of it, right? Like if somebody's starting out and wants to get better at it, is that one of the things you'd say?
get on with tennis shoes.
Sorry, say
if
it
they're
again.
if they're just starting out, do not get on with tennis shoes.
Yeah. This is advanced training. This is
Yeah.
level 2 at least.
It is. It's all about being in the right place. It's like a dance. The bull moves and you got to follow. I mean, but I don't know. I use a lot more knees, but you still use your spurs at the same time somewhat. And I always, the people that I would tell to get on the tennis shoes been riding bulls. It wasn't like they've been riding bulls. And, you can watch somebody ride and tell if they're just clamping down with their feet and just trying to hang on to them instead of moving like you're supposed to. I was taught you ride bulls like you ride a bicycle, constantly moving your feet. You never take a hold. If you feel like you got a good hold, reset them. And that's my thought on it. And like the shoe procedure, most people don't get along with me about that. They want to get up there, sit down on the bull rope and waller around. And I'm like, what are you doing? Well, I'm getting a good seat. I said, for what? It's about to change as soon as you nod your head.
Yeah, fair enough. I wanted to get into like the technical side on the bull riding side of it. One thing we talked about in Fort Worth was the lead changes with the bulls and being able to see those lead changes with the bullfighters and knowing which way a bull was going to go. And I never got to a point where I could notice that. I don't know, Wasey, if you did, if you knew it, like as far as lead changes. But
I was lucky enough to ride horses as much as I did. That's something that eventually became like riding horses is so big. Like we're learning those lead changes. But once I felt it riding bulls, it was a complete game changer.
Oh yeah. You can feel them bulls rolling their shoulders, things like that. Like all these bulls that I get that haven't ever had riders on them or haven't been bucked and things like that, I have to do the same thing with them. Like the first time I take them and mess with them, like I'll spill them out of a chute. The first thing I watch is which foot they're hitting first with, which lead they're on. If they're on the left lead, they probably need to be on the left side. If they're on the right lead, then they probably need to try them on the right hand side. Like I always pay attention to stuff like that, but it's, and I worked a bunch of calves for a guy one time and never been bucked, things like that. And that's what I did. I had my wife video them. And like Luke said, I'd go back and watch them 10 times, slow it down and watch. And that's how I'd figure out, well, maybe I need to put him on a left hand delivery. He's on his left lead. And you just got to, that's why I like working bulls. You got to fiddle with them. And I've always told guys that ride bulls, if you want to get better, then go work bulls. Get a job at a sale barn. Go work. Understand how they move. Understand how to move around them. And then even when you ride bulls, sometimes if you can be a bull rider for 10 years, but if you've never really been around them, you're still a little scared of them.
Or terrified.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if you go and like you work them and you handle them, you learn how they move, how to step around the end of the gate and let them go by you and things like that, then you're not scared of them. You know how they move. And I think that makes you a better bull rider because, you kind of understand them a little better.
So before we wrap up here, we're probably keeping you way too long, but I want to ask you about Jagger. He's how long until he gets past you in Instagram followers? He's not too far behind.
No, he's a popular little feller.
What do you want to see him do when he grows up, though? What do you want that your son, your clone to do when he grows up?
Whatever he wants to do. That's what I everybody said, oh, next world champion bull rider. I said, if he wants to ride bulls, that's fine by me. That's all on here. That's his decision. Some days he's got a spring bull, and that he pays attention too. Like I'll give him that. Like he'll ride that spring bull, and then some days he in there and he's backing in the box. He said, Dad, I'm in the box. And he'll take his rope and flip it up under his arm like he's tucking it under his arm in the box. And I asked Samantha, my wife, I was like, did you teach him how to tuck it under his arm? She said, no. And so he pays attention to everything. And he'll back it in there and he'll rope the little dummy and everything. So some days he's a roper. Some days he's a bull rider. Today he was butt naked with his cowboy hat on, had his plastic pistol in his holster, and for a while he was Newt, and then for a while he was Gus, riding his pony around. So, it's whatever he wants to do. I bought him a little T-ball deal, little bat and a ball, and he hits it pretty good. Like, actually, I told him, I said, I gave him the bat, showed him how to hold it, and I stood him there, and I said, now look at the ball and hit it, and he freaking whacked it. And I said, well, I played baseball when I was younger. Maybe I should have stuck with that.
How fun has it been to be on the road with them? You basically, you said earlier, you got to spend the summer on the road with your family and having your little son up there and your wife. How fun was that?
Oh, it's a blast. I was going to those bull ridings, and fly in, fly out every weekend, and it's hard on him to flying all the time, getting a rental car, things like that. When we bought the RV and we hit the road, they're right there with me, and it was fun. We have days off, we'd go to a campground and play and do whatever the hell we wanted to, and he's all about, as long as he can be around daddy, he's okay. Like, he didn't much like going to the bull ridings and having to sit in the stands. Like, that pissed him off. Like, he didn't like that. But those rodeos, he just goes back there with me and stays with me until I have to ride. And it was cool. It's kind of funny watching. There's a couple times that bull step on me in Washington towards the end of the summer, and it split me open pretty bad, knocked me out. And that's what the next morning he was looking at me, and I said, "You okay, buddy?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "There's blood everywhere, Daddy." I said, "Yeah, they got it all stopped up. They got it sewed up." He said, "Yeah." I said, "Good thing your daddy's tough, huh?" "Yeah, that bull step on your face." I said, "Yep, he did."
What do the next few years look like? What's the plan moving forward here?
Well, I think I'm gonna take probably January and February off, and then I'll enter San Antonio, but I'm gonna start back around San Antonio or Houston and go rodeo again.
Yeah, get I guess kind of heal up for a little while and get back to 100%, or I guess 100-ish. Like, as good as you can feel after a month off.
My 100%, I guess.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, but like picking up is probably going to be on the radar here in the future, and like taking the bulls around. Like, you're a rodeo guy for life. Like, you're a lifer. Like, this is what you're doing.
I like picking up broncs. That's pretty damn fun. I like messing with those fighting bulls, and I like piddling with these bulls and stuff like that. Like, it's always something to do with bulls. Always, most of the time, a rodeo. That's how it's going to be probably the rest of my life until I can't do it anymore.
I like it. Wacy, I guess one more question before we wrap up.
Yeah. Thanks for the time, man. This has been awesome. Or a good way to wrap up the year for us. So the one question we ask all of our guests on the show: what is your definition of cowboy shit? I think we've covered a lot of cowboy shit through the show, but what is your definition of cowboy shit?
Being a tough son of a bitch. If you're going to be a bear, might as well be a grizzly.
There you have it. That's perfect. That's one I like. I like that one. It's one of our better ones we've had over the years. So,
Luke, you got anything else to throw in here before we wrap it up?
Nothing, man. I get to watch bull riding every week, and I have for 15 years, and that's partly because of this guy. I mean, his love of the game is pretty infectious, like we said, my bull riding career was laughable at best, but like his knowledge and the love that he has for it, it's contagious, The first Built Ford Tough event I ever went to, he bought my plane ticket for. He said, "You got to come out here," and that was when I wanted to be a musician. He just come hang out, like, bull riding, like, it's awesome, it's cool, And that's the first place I met Flint. It's the first place I met Brandon Bates, and now I work with him every week. It's pretty cool. I owe a lot in my career to this guy, and I think a lot of people do. Just getting to watch him ride red gas bulls, So everybody's pretty fortunate to have this slap dick be a part of their life.
One of the OG slap dicks.
I wonder what kind of trouble you guys get into over the years, though. Like, I had this I was thinking about on the drive. I was like, I wonder if those guys ever ended up in jail one morning just by accident. They woke up and they were they were locked up or something
Nah,
got out of hand? No,
we're too good. We're too smart for jail. Not that we never did nothing that didn't warrant jail, but we were always smart enough to get out of town, get out of that town, or get out of the trouble that we were in.
Before the cops got there.
Yeah, or you outran them, I guess, right? I remember we had to outrun them one time. That was New Mexico back in the day.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay, well, yeah, thanks for doing this, guys. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for finally making it work. I know we talked about it for a long time. So again, Luke Hoffman and the 2-time PBR world champion, JB Mauney, thanks for joining us here today. We appreciate it a lot.
Fucking fucker.
Oh shit, that's Wasey cussing at his fire alarm once again, as you
excuse my language,
as you may have heard in the top of the show. But again, great interview with JB. One thing I gotta point out, and thanks to Luke Hoffman for joining in as well. One thing I was surprised by is I had in my head the whole time that JB had a bad NFR because of his, getting knocked out in the second round, but I didn't know he tore his groin too. So, anyways,
it's cool. It's cool to hear it right from the horse's mouth, though, right? Like
people said his head's not, but then again, I wonder if he didn't realize that it was hindering him too, right? Like,
oh yeah,
maybe I think that's one of the shitty things with the brain injuries is that we don't know we're brain injured and we think we're still okay. So
yeah,
I still wonder though if that's something that goes back to other problems where he could go win 200,000 that week.
Yeah.
And there's no, if he doesn't get on because of his own choice or because of an association choice, he doesn't get anything. So still I think there's more to that still, even if that wasn't the case.
There's a few layers.
Protect our people. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we have to protect
you look at any other sport with that kind of stuff, like they're like hockey, football, whatever, like they're doing their best to protect their top guys because they're nothing without those top guys. So I mean, I think it boils down to less of the more needs to fall on the association, the people looking after their athletes to do a better job of taking care of their guys. So
even with him saying he's okay, I still don't know if that's actually the case. And I think that the PRCA and JB both missed a big opportunity to focus on brain injuries there. But then again, it's not on him, it's on the association, but they don't have anything in place to pay him if you can't get on. So that's
just it, man.
It's shitty part of things still that still needs to get figured out.
We made some steps in the right direction, but there's definitely a long way to go still. And that was evident with how that went down with him. But yeah, like you said, great interview. It's cool to get a chance to talk to him and talk about some fun stuff and hear about just the way he thinks about stuff, right? Like, and even like how he approached the game, like it's a different level than most people ever will or ever have done it. So it's pretty neat to see.
Well, one thing I got thinking about, like I laid awake last night for quite a while after we did that show, and I wondered about asking him, do you wish you would have went to the PRCA years earlier? Do you think you could have won more world titles there than in the PBR? Do you think that you might have enjoyed it more after a while in the PBR? Do you think you probably wouldn't have won more money? You wouldn't have got the 100,000 a year for however long, so you wouldn't be 7 million. I'm curious what I'm gonna look here quick. What if there's a stat on Sage, like what he's won?
He's got to be close, like approaching 5, you'd say.
Yeah, I actually don't know. I'm curious. I'm just gonna see if the PRCA has these stats. I don't think they have quite as honestly sophisticated of a system. Career earnings 2.5 million. He's won the world PBR or the PRCA world title 7 times. He won 2.5 million. That doesn't include anything from Calgary or the American. So he's probably won
3.5, probably
3.2, but he's won the world 7 times. So I guess I
guess the one thing the one takeaway I could take from that though is when he asked JW Hart or
Jerome Davis.
Sorry. He asked Jerome Davis, like, what's the best way to make a living around Bulls? He said, go to the PBR. Or Jerome Davis asked him, do you want to make a living around Bulls? He said, go to the PBR. So I think that's maybe that's why he stuck with the PBR, just to be able to make that living and set himself up for success, I guess. I don't that's the only way I can think of it. I don't know.
It's almost 3 times as much as far as Sage on the
money run
PRCA side of things. You can add in the you could add in those other couple things, but even even JB saying, I think he said he figured Brian Canner was the best bull rider ever as far as guys riding, but you can't. But as far as like differentiating who's the best, you kind of still have to be Donnie Gay based on 8 world titles.
Yeah.
But if you base it on, PBR career earnings, or if you base it on, titles, best bull rides, it's interesting. Makes me think a bit more about it. So
there's a whole bunch of different factors and stuff that play into that conversation of who the best ever is, and then you have the PBR, PRCA debates and all kind of stuff. Like there's a lot of factors into it, that's for sure.
So,
or if you're going strictly off if you're going strictly off titles one, man, it's the answer's clear, right?
This is kind of wild too. So Kimsey has made 788,000 in the PBR, which is kind of wild.
There you go.
That's a lot of money. PBR Canada, so that Calgary money counts there. In 2019, winning Calgary's 80,000. So does 2015. Touring Pro 100,000. 500,000 is the American. That's wild. That's interesting. So he won Calgary and the American. That's the year he won $1 million in 1 year, 2017. Nice. So Sage, that makes him 3.5. But Kimsey's at 7. Or
JB's
sorry,
at 7. Yeah,
he's at
so
7.
It's half.
And JB's 34 and Sage is 27. So, but most JB's earnings came in the first part, or the first 10 years of his career. He hasn't won as much in the last few years, honestly.
Right.
And I was surprised by the, he was in the hunt for a world title in 2017, then gets wrecked out in Calgary again.
Oh, he was kind of picked up right where he left off, and he was riding so good.
I was looking at like he said, it wasn't career ending, but honestly,
probably should have. Most guys probably would have.
Well, but if you look at it, like he didn't even ride the second half of the year till he got, didn't ride the second half of the year. Still finished 16th in the world, but it just look at these career stats. So he was top 10 in the world from 2007 all the way till 2016. He finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He had 7 seasons where he was third or better in the world standings.
Wow.
Right. 2 years, 11 and 12, he was 7th and 8th. But to be top 3 in the world 7 seasons out of 10 is pretty unbelievable.
Pretty badass.
So that's the caliber of guy he was, right? And then he's 34. So say 2021, he's 34. 2020, he's 33. 32 in 2019, 31 in 2018, and 30 in 2017. So the years after 30, he's finished, 30 and above. He's been 16th, 28th, 30th, 28th, and then 2021, he was 232nd. So he did make his way on the PRCA side of things, where, as we've discussed before, the caliber of the bulls isn't as consistently high everywhere.
Yeah.
So he can be at a high level at those events still, honestly.
Well, you win a lot more money off the 84 to 87 point bull rides at the PRCA level, right?
The 85 and below.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Even 85 and below. Whereas the PBR, you got to be over 87 to be even like placing in rounds, right? Sometimes even higher. So it's kind of just, there's that drop off, which is, I mean, works. And JB still had to step up to the plate and ride the bulls he did. So I mean, like, kudos to him, but it definitely is the bull power level is a bit different, I would say.
Well, so here's Ellensburg. He was 83. Fort Madison, where he got hurt, was 90. Won the round at the NFR, 87.5. 85, 87.5, 85.5, 91.
Well, look at the one round where
in Elko won money with a 77, probably.
Look at the round where in the NFR where wasn't Josh Frost like 52 points or something like that?
A shitload of money.
And won a shitload of money, where it's like that would never happen at a PBR.
82 in Reno. He was 90 back to back in Hugo and Weatherford. 88, 89.5, 77 in Bandera on a bull with no name. How often does that happen where he gets on 2 bulls here? Mercedes Texas,
number bulls.
No name.
Yeah,
just number bulls. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
90 in Del Rio. That was a big one. 64. Doesn't look like he took a reride in Mineral Wells. Just got a 64. Wonder where he ended up.
Probably pulled a check there too, though, right?
Well, I wonder here. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th place. 64 points.
There you go.
So I mean, and I'm not crapping on anybody here.
No, you still got to ride your bulls, man.
Still makes a couple rides, but like 80 here in Mercedes, 83, 86.5, 87, 81.5, 85.5. 83 and a half, 81 and a half.
Yeah.
A few
But just kind of like
PBR side of things. Arlington. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like it just shows the just like that you're never going to place with a 64-point ride at a PBR, right?
No.
Whereas
Or you want money
and
there.
which and that's just the way it is. Like it's fine. Like you still got to show up and ride that 64-point bull, which sometimes can be harder than a 85 pointer in some aspects for some guys. So I mean,
I guess
there's definitely
yeah. What I wanted to point out though is that like after that wreck in Calgary, which I didn't realize the impact, but he hasn't ridden at the same elite level since.
Well, the one thing that
career ending, but it was career altering.
The one thing that really stood out to me when he mentioned it was how he lost his free arm out of it. And I thought back more, and you look back at some of those big rides he made, like when he rode Asteroid with his rope, and it's like his hand out of the rope for the last couple seconds. Like his big moves he's making with his free arm is what saved him on that bull. Or a lot of those guys, like a lot of those big rides he made, like it was because he made miraculous recoveries or big moves with free arms to get right back into position. So I mean, losing that part of your game for a guy like him, which has been such a big part of it, it's a no wonder why it was career altering, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I'm not sure what my point was. I just think that it changed the path a little bit, on track to maybe win a third world title in 17, get hurt in July, miss the second half, it's just,
it kind of just a testament to the sport, that's just the way she goes. And I mean, kudos to JB for adapting and staying at it, right? Like, I mean, it would have been easy for him just to say, okay, you know what, that's it for me. But he kept going and he accomplished another dream of his by making the NFR. So
going to NFR, yeah.
Yeah, so good for him. Yeah. And I mean, like in his position too, like it had to have been so fun to like he said it too, like traveling around with his family and his little boy, like
oh yeah,
that's guys at that point when you have your family, that's the one thing that they love to do. I know even back in the day when we were old enough to go rodeoing with my dad, like we all jumped in the van and there was a crew of us in the van with all of it, and he loved it more than anything. We spent the year 2000, we spent 2001, we spent 10 days in a truck camper with my whole family at the Calgary Stampede. My dad was competing there, and I know he liked that more than anything. So I mean, can see why that would be a lot more fun than having to fly around everywhere every weekend. So
definitely,
yeah, man, that's sweet.
Like he only went to about 55 rodeos too, which is on the lower end.
Yeah, we get some guys who rodeo themselves out.
Well, even like the greatest ever conversation makes me wonder, and I think we've talked about this before, but you look at the greatest ever, and Donnie Gay had his own plane, so he flew himself everywhere he wanted to go, and could rodeo his way through it, right? He could out rodeo guys by going to more places. So I wonder if there was, he still showed up and rode like you're saying, but I wonder how much
they're going to more rodeos than everybody made a difference.
Yeah. I wonder how much. I wonder what if that really, the greatest ever thing like we've built on here previously. Yeah. I don't know. It's a question to make me think about, I don't know how to.
And then even we go back to our conversation with Jake Bull, where it's like he wanted to go to the least amount of rodeos possible and make the most amount of money as he could, and
make a living at it.
Just different strategies for different guys, and I mean, and maybe that's what worked for Donnie. He needs to get on that many bulls to stay at that level, whereas for Jake, a guy like Jake, like when he was going, like he didn't need to go to as many rodeos to be at that high level. So I mean, I think it just whatever works for each individual guy. But yeah, it definitely factors in a lot to the best ever conversation. It'll be interesting to see what we can come up with for that.
20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So I got 26 events already for Sage in 2021, and I counted about 50 for JB. But then Sage has another entire page.
Yeah,
the other one. So as a
Sage, he's traditionally a guy who gets to his rodeo count. Like he makes sure he goes to as many as he can get to, right?
I'm at 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Here, keep going for a while. I'm going to count.
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I bet you Sage went to more like 80.
Yeah, because I know in the past there was a couple years where he'd rodeo out and get to that point. So that's where a lot of his big leads have came from, maybe too. But
yeah, I'm not taking away anything from him.
No, you're allowed to go that many rodeos, so freaking you may as well go if you can, or if you're capable, right? So, but it's one of those things where it's just kind of whatever just works for each individual guy, what you need to do. Because I mean, JB's the kind of guy where he can be hurt for 2 months and come back and smash out 2 90-point rides in a row, right? Whereas maybe some guys it just doesn't work for them. So I mean, you just gotta find the as our good friend Doug Young likes to say all the time, you gotta get your mixture right and find what mixture works for you. So I mean,
Well, and I wonder, I looked at the numbers too. So Sage has got 986 total records on Pro Bowl stats.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're actually going by like money per bowl, then JB is still one more, because as far on the Pro Bowl stat side of things, he has like 1,600 records.
Mm-hmm.
But there's how many more bulls you get on in from 27 to 34, where
I mean, that's a conversation we can have when they get to that point too, right? So
yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because you put another 900 records on Kimsey's. I don't know if he'll have that many more in the next 7 years, but you give him another 700 to get to where JB is. Maybe does he win another 3.5 million? But I think the transition, if he gets to 8 or 9 or 10 in the PRCA, he's got three more years to be 30. And then is he still in good enough shape to go to the PBR and contend there? I don't know.
I think you'd get maybe, and I don't know if it's a fair comparison or not, but a JW Harris type of deal where like JW was still
kind of thing.
Yeah, JW is still a really good bull rider when he came over to the PBR, but I think he was at the back nine of his career, and it's tough to go compete at that level all the time. He had 2 really good seasons in the PBR, so I mean, it's tough to say, man.
And he won 4 world titles in the PRCA.
Yeah,
we're gonna
it'll be cool to see, man. It'll be cool to see. But anyways, yeah, we could definitely, it's just something a topic we definitely revisit often. I'm sure we will more in the future.
Mm-hmm. I like the chat. Like even when we were going to and from Herbert for Christmas, I was listening to some podcasts, listening to a couple of Flint shows, just for something to make me think while we're driving. I was getting bored of driving and just wanted to, have the conversation instead of music. I'm not as mentally stimulated by the music side of things sometimes. So I appreciate the conversation, and I hope that folks listening will think about these things as well with us and give us a shout. But man, I think we got to do a quick bit of recap on the year, just some of the
man. It was a hell of a year, man. Like
we still have COVID.
Graduated university, we still battled COVID. We still got to do some cool stuff. My brother got married. Some of my really close friends got married. It's been a heck of a year.
The trip to Newfoundland was pretty epic.
Newfoundland was awesome.
Good
Got to do some rodeoing again.
Yep.
Obviously we've had some success with the show. I mean, we're over 200,000 downloads all time now, which is pretty cool. Clothing brand's doing well, which is, I'm sure, like
thanks for all the support.
Thanks. Yeah. And then, that's kind of where I was going, whereas like it's become a lot bigger than I think any of us would have expected. And it couldn't have been possible without everybody who supports us and listens to us. So we appreciate it more than I think people really know. It's one of those things too, where I have friends who will talk to me and they're like, oh yeah, you're like, so you're famous, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, nah, like you're not famous at all. It's just, and I like, that's not the motive either. Whereas I think like, I love doing it. And I know you do too, Ted, and Storm, like I'm sure she does too. And I mean, everybody involved, like Sean and anybody. So, I mean, it's just cool to be able to give something back to a sport and industry that's given us so much. Or for me, like it's like everything, a lot of who I am today is because of rodeo and the people I've met and through that. So being able to share stories and kind of give back in a way that works for us, it's really cool to be part of that. So I mean, it's been a cool year. And then you add in the whole live show layer, like being able to go to the CFR exhibition, Texas, man, like our Texas trip was the highlight of the year for me in regards to all this kind of stuff. Like it was really cool to something really new for both of us, like doing that pre-show stuff. I kind of felt like we were actually on TV, which was really neat, and learning about new sports and kind of challenging our skill set and learning something new and kind of adding something new to the tool belt. So, I mean, that was really cool. And then just being back in Texas and in America and traveling around and having some fun. It was cool, man.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah. How about you, dude? What's your kind of summation of 2021?
I enjoyed golfing up until June, and then
up until I didn't enjoy golfing.
Yeah, till I sucked.
I got so sour on golf by the end of the year, man. Oh fuck, I hated it.
And then we worked our asses off until I guess basically December 20th or so.
Yeah, literally.
And here we are now, kind of right back to it. Get after it for next year, but yeah.
That we're 2 weeks from now. We're in Texas, or 2 weeks from tomorrow. I guess we're in Texas
today.
Again.
Well, you were a day later, but yeah, we're 2 weeks today. So
yeah,
that was cool. I mean, I think we got to touch on Jose being 98.75. Like almost.
It's cool.
100
I'm so
point
pumped
bull
that they
ride.
finally broke the record, man. I'm pumped that
Yeah.
finally happened. That's good to see.
And looking
that was
back, I don't
all
think
well
that,
deserved.
looking back, I don't think that JB's ride on Bushwhacker is deserving of the 100 points or 99 points. I don't think it was good enough. It was hard, but I don't
And
think
his ride on Pearl Harbor to me is one of the
That
rankest
one-
rides of all time, dude. That
yeah,
was a
that
rank
one.
bull ride.
But then you can also look back at like Cooper Davis on what the hell's that bull?
Smooth operator. When we
Smooth
were talking about
Operator.
Brandon.
Yeah, right. So I mean, yeah, I'm glad they got this one right. There
I
might
think
be
I think
more
I think
stuff
now that
coming.
they've broken the ice though, with that, like with Jose, I think we're gonna see a lot more of those big time rides get the scores that they deserve to get. So, and I'm gonna die on the hill that before Jose's done and done his prime, he is going to be 100 points.
Oh, well, but listening to a show, one of Flint's shows with Cody Lambert, Cody says that, and he's the judging guy, like he's the guy. He says that a bull can't be perfect, can't be a 25-point score unless he throws a guy off. So with that being said, we're never going to see 100 in the PBR until that thought changes.
I think it will though, because was Jose was the first one ever to have a perfect rider score. So I mean, it's I think it's unlikely. It's unlikely, but I think it's possible, man. That's my personally, I think he's going to do it.
But did you hear the point where I said Cody Lambert teaches the judging seminars, and he says a bull isn't a 25 unless he throws.
But I mean, it's
off.
But things change too, right? It's not something that's.
I don't think there'll be 100 if Cody's still in charge of the judging seminars. If the rule is from his standards, and he's the one making the rules, that he's not a perfect bull unless he throws a guy off, then we're not going to see a guy ride a bull and be 100 in the current system under Cody.
And the current system. Then that's
right.
Again, that's
the best you're going to do is 99.
Before Jose's done his career, I think he's going to be 100 points, and I'm allowed to say that.
You're allowed to say that, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Things are going to have to change, I think, but hey, it'd be cool.
The world's changing faster than we know it. Things change.
Other than that, I think I don't have any. I was just writing some goals while I was waiting for you here, or I was getting to it. I didn't quite get started yet, but I don't have them. But you said you have one. That's a smart goal.
We're heading into 2022. So we'll chat a bit more about that. But yeah, so I want to run a half marathon in the first 6 months of 2022. So I have
might be a little cold still in the first half of 2022.
I can still run on a treadmill to train, right? It doesn't need to be running outside.
But you said you're going to run a half marathon
within the first 6 months.
So by June.
Yeah, by June I'll be able to run a half marathon. So
are there any in Canada?
Yeah, I'm going to find one. There's one in Calgary, I think, either at end of May or June. So I just need to schedule wise. I need to sign up for it and then start training. But
did you know that our editor Sean Morton is a long distance?
Yeah, I did that. That's pretty cool. I think just something like I don't know.
Did you ask him for any tips yet?
No. I was just thinking about this on my drive here. This what I
want to do it and
what
why?
I want to do in 2022.
Why do you want to do a long run?
I think it's
why do you want to torture yourself like that?
I think it's more realistic in like fitness wise, rather than be like, oh, I'm gonna go to the gym every day or I'm gonna do this and that, right? Like there's something to be achieved, and I'm like, when it comes to fitness stuff, I need to have something motivate me to the end. Like when I was rodeo and like it was to be a better bull rider, all that kind of stuff. Where it's like right now, there's like nothing really to be like, okay, I can go to the gym and like obviously overall health and fitness is an important thing, but I still need to have that motivation of working towards something to get me motivated to do something. So I think if I have, okay, man, like you're ended up in this half marathon in May, you got to get your ass moving and start running and get trained up. So I mean, that's where that motivation comes from. So and I think it'll be fun. And then who knows what happens after that? Maybe a person does a full marathon or whatever it may be, right? So I just think that's good. So I mean, yeah, I have the Nike Run Club app downloaded, and you can build like a training platform or training thing for it for when your date of your half marathon is. So I'm going to follow that and be mindful of my diet and all that kind of stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
So
by be mindful of your diet, that's not a specific goal.
So I'm gonna run. So I talked to my brother and to help him like trim down stuff. He runs a calorie deficit. So I'm gonna calculate what I need to do to operate at a calorie deficit to be able to train properly and still fuel my body. So that's the diet I'm gonna approach with. And also, and then also just like kind of a personal goal too is be more diligent in making food at home and that kind of stuff. So that'll help out as well.
How is that measurable?
Ordering less, skip the dishes.
How is that timely?
In what sense do you mean timely?
Well, you just said you're gonna order less, skip the dishes. Are you gonna cook?
So
for
like,
yourself?
so maybe
Are you
so
gonna
I'll
cook for yourself
I'll,
2 times a week? Is this
I'm gonna cook
down?
for myself. Probably 4 days of the week.
What about when we're at the Calgary Stampede? When are you gonna cook then?
Well, I live just down the street, so I should be able to cook at home.
What about when we're in Regina for a week?
Well, then that's gonna be selecting stuff that is healthier to eat than 6 chicken nuggets at 10 p.m.
But my point being is that those goals kind of have to change a little bit because you're not to make up.
No, exactly. And it'll be
like 4 times a week when you're home.
When I'm home, yeah. Like that's
like I'm trying to help you. Specific so you can be and achieve your goals, Wasey. I'm trying to coach you.
I appreciate it.
Coach you here a little bit.
I appreciate it. But yeah. So that'll be obviously barring when we're on the road, when we're not on the road.
Mm-hmm. I think we can make better choices when we are on the road. But
I think
by
so
doing
too.
that, and especially on this last trip, we have to live differently while we're there because we can't just party every night. We got to go home, and that, like, I guess that's what I did on this last trip. I didn't feel as bad when I got home because I kind of took care of myself a little bit more. Didn't stay out all night. Like I had plenty to drink and like we had fun lots of places, but I kind of
I felt substantially better getting home from our 2 weeks in Texas than I did coming home from Regina.
yeah, right. And I'm just saying that way I feel better.
And that's part
different
of
choices
it too.
And sleep a little more and take better care. So
I think overall I think the theme of it is just taking better care, especially being on the road. It's easy to kind of get off track. So if you can kind of get a routine built where you're taking better care, pack some snacks and just be mindful of what you're eating and all that kind of stuff, and it'll just make everything else that much better. So yeah,
okay,
and then
let's wrap it up, Wace.
That's one to go. Yeah, man.
Okay,
go to work.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks, Wasey. Appreciate another good year. Looking forward to maybe getting full time here next year. We're gonna look into that.
I'm manifesting it. That's one of the things I'm manifesting for 2022.
I like it. Glad to have you back on the dark side and making fun of those horse girls. Keep it up. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
But we'll I gotta get rolling. Gotta have some lunch before we go here. But thanks for listening, everybody. This is Cowboy Shit. I'm Ted. He's Wasey. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Storm DeFoe for kicking ass on all of our everything. She's
keeping track of our
fucking some ass. Sean Morton, once again, we appreciate you and the listeners.
Finally, the people, the fans, we're gonna call them fans. People listen, people support us, sponsors.
Thanks.
We like you. We love you guys.
And it looks like December might be one of our best months ever on the pod as far as downloads, and November was already our best month ever. So cool. I'd love to hit a new high at least 1 month in 2022, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 or 12. Who knows? But hey, I'd love to see that happen.
Hey man, we're doing it.
All right. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll see you next time.
Adios.